to very dense days of greetings, proceedings, and you have to work hard to be a mayor. As I said on other occasions, it seems that nothing happens in Biella. Instead, we are a lively city full of events. This forum is something that brings a lot of value to the topic of water and its conservation. Saying that water is life seems commonplace, but it is actually the truth. Today we have a water situation that is not too bad, but we don't realize how important it is to protect this asset. Those who found themselves in a situation where when they had no water one day realize how important it is. It is something that we take for granted, but we shouldn't. Because as all assets on this earth, this is not endless. If we are not aware of it and if we are not careful with it, I don't know what might happen. Without water, there can't be life. So starting from the good practice that is taught in school, as students are more careful than we are, starting from the way they wash their teeth. You know, you shouldn't leave the tap open, because if everybody does that, it's millions liters. So you see how useful even a small thing can be. And there are practices that have been adopted in our territory also concerning cleaning of the rivers after wall processing. You might remember that there was a time when our streams had the color that the dyeing mills would, that the dyeing plants used. And now it is not like that anymore, thanks to the sensitivity and the awareness of the companies around Biella. They started cleaning their residues, and so they the water they drained is not so polluted anymore. And now there are new techniques, and I am sure that thanks to events such as this, there will be more. So it is good that we can share practice with the rest of the world. And I would like to thank UNESCO for putting us into an international network where we can study and dialogue. I know that the minister is about to come, so I will quickly leave the floor to Barbara, who is the anchor woman for this event. And I welcome her because I didn't have a chance to say hello yet. And so welcome to this event. And please remember that water is not an asset that will be there forever if we don't change our behavior. So thank you very much, everybody. And I wish you a very fruitful day. So good morning. Welcome, everyone. All the colleagues, guests, speakers, and colleagues from other creative cities. I also would like to welcome all the authorities that are here today. Today we are going to discuss some topics that are crucial for all the communities. Because all leaders and high representatives of the UN and civil society in 2015 at the 70th General Meeting of the UN established the Sustainable Development Goals. These goals that we decided to reach by 2030 represent the Sustainable Development Agenda, a universal one, an ambitious one, made for people, by people. And all this is carried on with the active involvement of UNESCO. UNESCO actually contributes to the achievement of goals through work in several fields: education, natural sciences, human and social sciences, culture, information and communication, SDGs for the ocean. And our forum is actually inserted in the context of this program for Creative Cities. The Creative Cities Network started in 2004, and it promotes creativity as a crucial element, a strategical element for a sustainable urban development. And it is divided into 7 clusters: music and literature, arts and folk, art and crafts, where Biella is design, media arts, gastronomy and film. The 295 cities from around the world cooperate for a common goal, placing at the center of their development plan the active cooperation at international level. How? By exchanging good practice. Yesterday we opened the forum with the topic of water, and we applied it in our territory. We saw it with the careful look of the scientific community that studies and lives in all Europe and makes research all around the planet. We connect water with the environment today. Landscaping and the defense of work, that is also a defense of life, as from water life comes. Speaking of water means facing and tackling difficult topics in environmental, scientific, social and economical terms. We all share one common goal. We share the adoption of a cultural shift, a shift that is able to change our way of living. Today, we try and align our vision and compare it with the rest of Europe. We see water as a resource that must be valued more and more, massively. Water is a primary element. Water is a crucial agent. And yesterday, this was very well explained by Professor Kaser from Innsbruck, our permanent secretary for the Alpine Convention, Mrs. Morel. And today we will also speak with other cities on important topics: investments in water, resilience, new tariffs, the environmental impact. Great representatives and experts and practitioners from the water world discussed yesterday and will also speak today. Prudent administrators, people who understand creativity. Businessmen that put the factor of sustainable development at the center, and they speak with administrator and they apply the green public procurement to the water system. The rainwaters are studied, the regulation of the public sector, environmental and energy development. And we in Biella, we are the seat of a manufacturing textile district of great excellence. We have a culture of work and business, and we want to value it more and more. So from crafts and folk art, we want to go to the world industry. In Biella, we aim at sustainability and green practice. We do that in the textile industry with training, education, exhibitions, and research. We will hear from some companies from Biella today. Soon, the Ministry, Pichetto Frattin, should also be here, who is in charge of the environment and energy safety in the government at a time that is especially delicate, where the events undermine the research and safety, and the planet is suffering more and more. And also our cities are affected by that. Yesterday, we saw the issues for the supply chain with agriculture and companies. And you see that starting from the creation of the assets, we see the effects in our shopping cart every day. Like, I would like to mention the question of the price of olive oil in Italy, which has practically doubled, more 99% in 2 years only. Olive oil has increased in 2 years by 128%. These consequences, in addition to the weather, can be observed by every citizen when we go shopping every day. But today, I also would like to pay a tribute to a partner, Namibia. And I also would like to thank our photo club for the beautiful pictures that you can see on the wall behind me. These pictures are from Namibia, from the Karas region, because Italy has a memorandum of understanding for cooperation with Namibia. And Biella, in particular, has a cooperation relationship with the city of Kidmanshu in the region of Karas. The municipality of Biella is lending tutorship for her future candidateship for UNESCO. So we also send our businessmen and women to help them work the Karakul wall, a special native short wall that our businessmen and women have been researching, and they are also active in education in this city. Namibia is a small country, 2.6 million inhabitants. It is in northwest Africa, and it is also considered one of the driest countries in the world. It suffered from huge droughts. From 2013 until now, the government declared a national emergency 4 times due to droughts. 83% of rainwater in Namibia evaporates, and it only leaves 1% available for its inhabitants. This forum will also be an opportunity to have an insight on the fragility of our environment that is linked to urban fragility. All this in preparation for 2024 in view of the 10th World Forum that will be held in Bali. And not surprisingly, yesterday we had many guests from the Alps and from the Alpine conventions, because we are working with them on the Green Deal for 2050. In this international scenario, Biella is moving. We synergically cooperate with all entities in Italy and around the world. We are ready for the challenges, not only to protect our territory, not only to protect our citizens, but also stressing the importance of the youth. They are facing all this with the anxiety of the unknown. But today we want to face this great challenge together. We should not leave them alone. Yesterday we had 200 students here because we want to witness, and we also want to do it today with all the creative cities. And we want to discuss important topics with them. Topics that affect the development of all communities. Yesterday, Reinhold Messner showed that we are a single entity, the body and the rock, and this allows us to reach our goal. And this concentration in the environment allows us to win the challenge with death. Today, shortly, we will also be in touch with Giovanni Soldini, who in the UNESCO project for sea sciences and sustainable development made some drafts to assess the quality of the sea. So I thank the creative cities for being here, and I invite you all to launch a debate on these topics on which we have responsibilities. Complex topics that are perpetually evolving, but on which we will be working as protagonists for the next 20 years. I have also seen our coordinator here, Mr. Salmoni. Let me also welcome Daniele Vimini. And if direction is ready for the connection with Soldini, are we ready? Okay. So while we are waiting for the ministry, that will be the main speech of the day, I would like to invite our coordinator, the architect Vittorio Salmoni. The creative cities are always in touch. So welcome, Vittorio. We often meet at least remotely once every 2 months. So let me explain the profile of our coordinator. We meet and we plan together. We tackle many topics, like we spoke of urban regeneration. We have just finished a few days ago. We were all together speaking of the transmission of memory and culture. So I thank Vittorio for involving us and for bringing all creative cities for the first time to the Biennale of Venice. Biella has an important memory, a precious one, that is that of the textile archives. And this is also an opportunity for us, for tourism. It was suggested as UNESCO Open Circuit, and it was classified as good practice that should be exchanged. So this is one of the tasks that we performed this year, a particularly important one. And I thank my colleagues, because yesterday Bergamo Summit was also being held, and many of them, Vittorio and Mr. Vimini from Pesaro, reached us this morning very early at dawn. And we have many debates. Sometimes we have reflections that we can carry on with us and then maybe turn them into actions. I'm thinking of the Charter of Carrara. Here we also have some representatives from Carrara. And from them we borrowed the Regeneration Charter to value crafts. I'm also thinking of the practice that we exchanged. Our Green Deal project was performed and valorized by Paris. So we signed the Carrara Charter, as I told you. We exchanged information with Bergamo concerning some variants to the development plan. We also cooperated with the city of Pesaro, and UNESCO invited us to create relationships and to help each other, and in order to help the Ukraine community. While we are waiting for the ministry, Vittorio, if you wish to start. Oh, here he is. Good morning and welcome. I was just explaining ordinary activities, because actually my real speech had finished. So we were just waiting for you to start and to kick off the day. So welcome. I can leave you the floor. I have already introduced the day. Yes, we all had our say. So today we are speaking of water, the values of water and the culture of the environment. We have other creative cities here. Mr. Salmoni. Then we have the city of Carrara. We have a great delegation from Como. With them we are opening a district with a textile workshop for sustainability. We also have the city of Pesaro, another creative city. And later we will also be connected with Mary Hammond from the US. And we will also have a video by our Goodwill ambassador. We don't have our ambassador, Mr. Stellino, because he is busy due to diplomatic activities, due to the war situation. So I would like to thank our ministry for being here, which is very much needed, as yesterday we tackled important topics. We had Mr. Kaser from the scientific committee from University of Innsbruck, who works at the climate report on the environment, and this will turn into a working document for G7. We also had Professor Erbetta and Mr. Messner, and later from his boat we will also have the sailor Giovanni Soldini, who has committed for the decade of UNESCO to collect water samples. So now our ministry has also been updated, and we are very much willing to listen from here.
Buongiorno a tutti,
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much. Thank you for guests coming from outside Biella. To start any kind of job and activity, it is necessary to offer water. So to make the wheel start moving, textile machinery started working. So give and offer water is a current theme linked to climate change. Since we are living in a particular context, the past average was 112, 115 rainy days per year, but now it has decreased up to 85, but the amount is the same. So that by experiencing this situation, the issue is about drought and natural catastrophes, lack of resources, but sometimes also richness in resources. In a country as Italy, characterized by hills and mountains, we should face this situation through some particular activities. We are collecting 11% of rainwater. Spain, which is a country set within the same latitude, collect more than 37% of rainwater. This is a huge difference. Collecting rainwater means having water when we need water to irrigate land and so on, but also to store water when we have water enough, so that being part of assessment system of water. This is the framework where we are living in. Production system loses more than 40% since huge maintenance activities have stopped for some decades. Wastewater. What about wastewater? We could use wastewater but we use just 5% of wastewater, more or less. But we could use it up to 40, 50%, because by being purified, we could use this water to irrigate the lands and the grounds. In a territory as Biella is, particularly distinguished by raining waters, the point is that we should gather and collect rainy water to store it and to use it. It's time to do it, especially here, but also as a country. The first reaction of government Yes, today is our first birthday because at 10 a.m. 1 year ago, the government was created. The point is analyzing and joining each department of the government and to gather them. Each department should play its role. Some competencies on behalf of infrastructures, dams and so on for the Ministry for Infrastructures, then irrigation system related to agriculture, while water system is related to the ministry that I'm leading. So that we have detected a commissioner for drought at the beginning, and his surname is Dell'Acqua, which in Italian means water. About water is make some jokes, but we have started reflecting on this issue, trying to delve into the knowledge that our system has, but putting all this knowledge in common among different administrations, departments, ministries, and so on. There are some competencies related to local authorities, but they do not exchange data among them. This means that we should collect all this information and knowledge to reach some solutions. This goes in line with other actions that we are carrying out. Within my ministry, we are working for the integrated water system. I would like to remind you that in Italy there are 2,391 water management systems. Some of them are very big, some others are little and small. I do not remember the exact figure, but a consistent part of it belongs to the economy scale. There are some alliances, but some alliances are lacking because maybe some partners cannot be and cannot represent an advantage. You know, this is the economic logic that our country has, but we cannot think about investing in extraordinary maintenance operations within the current water management system, but also investment in renovating the system itself. Considering that there are thousands and thousands of stakeholders and players and partners that cannot be involved within these renovation systems and mechanisms in relation to taxes and so on, because these mechanisms works on bills, just to be concrete, so that upstream should exist a kind of relationship with the bank, but just certain players can have and can carry out a kind of relation with bank system. Within this territory, when Corda was born, to purify water, There were more or less 50, 60 municipalities in the network. It was at the beginning of the 80s. The aim of the creation of Corridor was to create purifiers in Masazza and in Cossato to purify the water of this territory. But in the meantime, in the East territory, Corridor Valsesia arose, where wastewater to be treated were gathering there in that territory. The single municipality couldn't create its purifier, as well as Biella. We should bring this local experience to a national level. We are doing within the integrated waste management system to reduce the partners and the players involved within the mechanism, reaching a balanced number of players. I'm thinking about 100, 150 more or less, because of course we should consider that there are many situations in which some micromanagement bodies can be a smart solution, but in some other territories this is not feasible, of course. All these should go in line with the reflection of the territory and the rebuilding of the territory, so that we should always consider that regulation is related to the abandonment of some territories, and this fact means automatically the need of having a special care for that territory and those territories. Otherwise, the problem is doubled. And it is obvious and clear that this situation is related to great and big plans of restoring and renovating. Let's just think about Po Valley. In Italy, 94% of municipality is at risk of hydrogeological catastrophe and disaster. There are more or less 7 million Italians, people, who live in some areas which are at risk according to the tables of the government. And out of 7 million, 1.3 million are living in territories where landslides can occur easily. There are more or less 600 projects with the PNRR, the National Plan for the Resilience, so that each region is working in this direction. However, this is very little thing compared to the general issue that we are considering today. The challenge that we are facing is creating and developing a great and large plan for the territory, creating some large areas of flooding, which means you cause flooding in some territories that are cultivated, but of course this depends on a governmental mechanism which perceives and grant an yearly compensation for losing the crops that year. There are some actions related to the rain. I presented the plan for climate adaptation. There are 361 actions related to different themes and issues. Water, of course, but also air, energy, and all those issues concerning the next COP28 in Dubai. The world challenge, as far as mitigation is concerned, of course, relates to water and to adaptation. Adaptation is something new at a country level, and this is the strongest action we should carry out. But also mitigation, so that we should act on the basis and laying reason. This is the main reason of human actions, so the CO2 emissions. I think that our challenge is complying with 2030 targets and 2050 targets in reducing CO2 emissions. Somebody usually tells me, well, maybe I'm running out of time. I would like to stay in time, but I would like just to stress this point. I have worked a lot within business, industry, and sometimes somebody tells me, okay, but Europe represents 9.5% of global emissions. Italy accounts for 0.8% of world emissions, and minus 10% of European emissions. By the way, as at an industry level, we are taking a lot of steps forward, agriculture and so on. So why should we have to cut and reduce emissions? But I personally believe that Italy, since it has no raw material, based its richness through know-how, expertise, taking wool from Australia and process it to reach excellent fabrics with profit margins, ensuring wellness and employment. This is the challenge. The challenge should be taken to win, and winning means having a brand more. Nowadays, we are talking about sustainability, and sustainability is a current issue, but greenwashing is also linked to sustainability. We perfectly know that. Who wants to copy an excellent product? Do greenwashing. We should create a brand about decarbonization and so on. So we should represent a mean for these good practices. Our territory has already shown during the last 150 years, more or less, to be able to do that. This could be the model for our country. Thank you very much.
Grazie.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. And now we are ready, and it is an honor for me to introduce him. We have remotely connected from his own boat in Hong Kong, Mr. Giovanni Soldini. Good morning, Giovanni. A great applause from Biella for you. Niccolò, we need more sound. Good morning. Can you hear us? Good. So, while we are raising your volume, could you just say hello so I see if we have sound from you? All right, while they are setting your volume, you will receive some greetings and welcome from Italy, from our ministry, while Giovanni Soldini is sailing. At the moment, I think he is in the waters of Hong Kong. Is that right? And I actually wanted you to say hello to Giovanni while they are setting the volume. We see you very well. I envy you a little bit, if I can say that, but unfortunately we can't hear you. And now you will receive a welcome from our Ministry for the Environment and Energy Safety. Our Ministry, Gilberto Pichetto Frattin, as in Biella we are also speaking of water and the environment. Yes, I just wanted to welcome you, and I envy you a little bit too for what you do, and as you have the chance and as you are seeing the seas from all around the world, well, one of the topics I am going to discuss at the COP28 is that of the plastic islands that we have in the oceans of the world and the need to protect biodiversity in the seas of the world. But then, as we should all take care of our own home before, well, it's the Mediterranean for us. Being a closed sea, it is one that suffers a lot from climate changes. You are a witness as you sail in so many seas, and you have a chance to realize that. And with this, I welcome you, and I thank Barbara for this opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Ministry. We are trying, Giovanni, to be able to hear your voice.
Cosa deve aumentare lui il volume? Giovanni, mi dicono che deve...
Giovanni, you are the one who should raise your volume.
Che deve aumentare lei il volume dal suo... Non ci arriva proprio il suo audio dalla sua connessione.
We have no sound from your connection. Your microphone can't be recognized.
Questo è il bello della diretta. Provi, leggiamo che adesso è passato il microfono, 2 altoparlanti. Provi a dirci qualcosa. Niente. È proprio una marcorda, è come vedere i film muti. Neanche? Allora mi dicono, Giovanni, che neanche via Zoom riusciamo a ricevere il suo segnale dal microfono. Purtroppo è proprio il suo microfono.
I am told that it is your microphone that doesn't work.
Allora, mi dicono se vuole, Giovanni, se vuole provare un attimo a uscire dal collegamento e poi a rientrare, mi dicono che può essere una soluzione utile. Ecco, allora nel frattempo io inviterei...
In the meantime, while Giovanni is trying to reconnect, I would like to invite our companies from Biella. We mentioned sustainability, and now it is time to have them on stage. We have Mr. Alessandro Barberi Canonico and Ludovico Maggia. They performed a business plan based on sustainability. So welcome. Thank you for being here today. So, welcome. Please take your seats, and in the meantime, we will see if I can improvise. Should I see if he can connect back? So we can start, Nicolo.
Così lo salutate anche.
Eccomi.
Ecco!
Here you are. We can hear from you now. Please listen to our applause from Biella. I am sorry about the discomfort. Sometimes technology is complicated. So, Giovanni, let me introduce myself. I am the councillor for the city of Biella. My name is Barbara Greggio, but we also have other creative cities, Italian cities here, and also connected other cities from UNESCO. We know that you are doing important work for the health of waters in the UNESCO decade. So let me start with a necessary question. Can you tell us about your journey? I heard about 44,000 miles. We all envy you a little bit. Yes, on the trimaran that I am using for regattas around the world, and with which we have been sailing around the world in the last year, we have embraced the sea decade cause because it is very dear to us. And so for 1 year and a half, we have started sailing with this central station that analyzes the surface water of the sea and assesses the amount of CO2, the salinity and temperature of water at 1 hertz, so once per second. Wherever the boat is, these data are analyzed and recorded. And then we provide them to the scientific community, to ENEA, and they help us fixing them, calibrating. With them, we have developed a very fruitful cooperation. And eventually, we work with FMR, that is the European Centre for this sort of activity. On the other hand, in September, we also decided that we would disembark the piston engine from our trimaran. So we now have a boat that is free of hydrocarbons, and we produce energy with solar panels. They were actually made in Turin, and so we can navigate, we can sail around the world at no impact. This is an interesting exercise to try and understand what kind of cultural shift we have to make and that we have to embrace. So more attention to our consumption and in order to limit our emissions as much as possible, to tackle the issue that is a little bit of the mother of all issues. I heard the ministry speak of water before. In the last 3 years, we have seen that drought is a very hot topic for Italy and for all the Mediterranean countries. But at the same time, it is also a hot topic, the too big amount of water, very violent weather phenomena, nearly equatorial rains that sometimes are triggered on our territories. And this is due to the health state of the Mediterranean Sea, first of all, its temperature, which unfortunately reached incredible levels. Last summer, before leaving, our last sailing in the Mediterranean was to Lisboa, and we recorded the temperature and the CO2 amount. Well, in the Mediterranean, we have a fever. Unfortunately, the sea being very small and closed and very much populated, so with a density of human population that is particularly high, is a sea that is actually heating up a lot. The amount of CO2 at the surface is totally out of control, and this results in energizing these weather forms that are particularly violent. Last year in August, well, not the last one, but in 2021, there was a storm that actually tumbled our boat in Marina di Massa. And in Corsica also many boats were sank, and this is something we are not used to, but this happens also in our country and our coastline more and more frequently. And also what happened this year in Romagna is very meaningful. So we have to be prepared. We have to invest in water management at all levels, and for the management of water basins also and watersheds, and also to fight against drought, another scourge that is hitting more and more in our country. It is not easy to solve these problems. This is a problem that can only be solved if we all join our forces and we stop saying and thinking that eventually Italy is only responsible for 1 or 2% of CO2 in the world. But we are all in the same boat, literally, and we should all work together in the right direction. Otherwise, we maybe won't be able to win this challenge, which is a vital one for our children and for ourselves, for our quality of living.
Sala, anche perché anche gli scienziati.
And actually yesterday also scientists said the same. Despite we are only responsible for 1% of emissions, the responsibilities lie on each and all of us. Let me ask you one question. You have a special observatory from your boat. So I imagine, as we are also dealing with work here with the textile industry and businesses, let me ask you a special question. You mentioned your boat that is recording measures and reduces emissions. Concerning performance, yes, that is the thing. This is the exercise that we are doing, and this is also evidence of it. It is not true that the future and the change means losing performance. Our trimaran and the Maserati trimaran were transformed to pure electrics, and it survives only with alternative energies. And I assure you that this is not easy, because a boat has 16 IP addresses for computers, a lot of technology on board. And when we get to the harbors, we need a propeller. So it is not so easy. And we could win the Transoceanic in January. We won a record. We crossed the ocean in less than 4 days. And we had other trimarans as competitors. And we are all at the same level. Not because we left our engine has our boat become less competitive. Not at all. I seriously believe that a boat in the ocean is a small world, and it has all the same issues that there are in the world. In a very short time, you realize that energy is vital. It is absolutely important that fresh water is also crucial for survival, that wastes are also a very delicate topic, because if you don't pay attention to what you embark 10 days later, you might be overwhelmed by waste. All these are topics that must be managed. We need an important cultural shift, and we need competence, science, and goodwill in the end. So I really believe that technology and science are our only hope. And we must listen to them, pay attention to them. We should not deny it. You should not be in favor or against some positions. We have to believe in science and try and analyze these situations for what they are. Giovanni, we have been listening to many cities. We have people from Como. We have the city of Carrara, Fabriano, Pesaro. And we are also streaming with other UNESCO cities. Is there any message you would like to share with them? Would you like to tell all these administrators something? Well, for sure, concerning our territory, I think that we wasted a lot of time in the name of I don't know what. But a lot was due to some difficulties, because it is difficult to do things due to red tape mainly. We really have to lean on a change and energy efficacy. So we really had to make up time and be aligned. I travel a lot. I sail in my boat. I've been traveling in Germany, in Northern Europe. I think it is foolish that Italy is lagging behind so much, for instance, on wind energy, because this is crucial. It is a crucial energy. It is the renewable energy that is the most powerful. And it is the nearest our energy. It doesn't stop at night, and it has huge potentials, especially now that we can have plants at sea, giant plants without great investments. So if we want to change things, we really have to invest in renewable energies, and we ought to convey less CO2 emissions and have less energies that come from fossil sources. And this is the main problem and the mother of all problems, the fact that CO2 is warming up the climate much more quickly than expected. And this is a very serious problem that we should tackle soon. Thank you. And lastly, Giovanni, I have a question from your point of view, from your personal and human point of view. Yesterday, we were lucky enough to meet Reinhold Messner. He told us about his personal life and how the world changed since his first expedition until now. Can I ask you about your point of view? You see it from the sea, and from the sea you look at the land. During these years, how did you experience this evolution and the effects of climate changes? Unfortunately, I am also getting old, and I have seen many changes at sea. When I was a child, there was no plastic in the sea. But there was a lot of tar at sea, All the people from my generation knew that when you went to the beach, then your mother would follow you with a clam in her hand to remove the tar from your skin. And I think this is a good example, because this is something that we could solve quite simply. We did something quite smart. We actually stopped using the petrol tanks with a single hull. It was not really the hull, but the tank. So these boats used the seawater in the same tank, and this was filled with petrol when they had to embark it, because a boat must sail at full charge, otherwise it is too high and is not stable. So since we have 2 tanks in petrol boats, or double hull as they are called, we have solved the problem of tar. Everybody had to agree on that, and we could do that. And now we can't find tar on the beaches anymore. Instead, we find a lot of plastic, maybe single-use objects, and that is not a problem that we only have in the Mediterranean. Or actually, we have less. Mediterranean has more problems with microplastics, drains, dumps, but our seas are full of plastic. A lot of it comes from fishing activities. Some only come from a lack of care for rivers that carry a lot of waste to the sea. And we have to agree again to try and limit the use and the production of plastic for objects that are not meant to last over time, but only for a single use. So it is foolish to have plastic bottles that are drunk in a couple of minutes and then thrown away. Of course, a big part of these bottles ends up in the sea. So we have to all agree and try and limit CO2 as much as possible and quickly, and also curb the production of water for things where plastic is not absolutely necessary. Thank you, Giovanni. I would like to say that at the next Congress, in addition to the Ministry of the Environment, we will also have the Ministry of Education to have more civic education and the sharing of good practice. Now, I would like to thank you a lot, also in the name of all the creative cities that we have here. And on behalf of our administration, our municipality, our city council, in the name of our ministry, and I also thank you for everything you do for our seas and oceans and for research and science. So thank you. Thank you for the use that you are making of your visibility on this topic. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Giovanni. A great applause for you. And good luck. Good luck for your sailing and research activities. We stand next to you. Thank you.
Allora, adesso partiamo con le aziende.
Okay, let's go on with the companies, starting by Vitale Barberis Canonico. Mr. Alessandro Barberis Canonico, please, the floor is yours. Good morning, everybody. Perfect. Well, it is very interesting listening to Mr. Giovanni Soldini. Before telling something about our experience about textile industry, I would like just to delve into something that Mr. Soldini has taught. Lots of environmental impact have been caused by consumers. Let's consider that on products sold, wool basically causes pollution in the seas. So we are talking about sea water, accounting for 1%. Natural materials, cotton, linen, that do not cause pollution since they are biodegradable products, accounts for 20%. So that 80% of raw materials have made up of microplastics they are invisible. So fishes eat these microplastics, they die. You maybe eat microplastics when you eat fish in Liguria. They are very harmful for human beings. And one of the fundamental elements is not just removing plastics in the seas, in the rivers, that they are floating in the sea, but about consumers, because consumers buying some t-shirt, polyester t-shirt, and then they throw it away, they create some microfibers that have been issues in the seas that created 90% of pollution due to clothing. 80% of this is due to the production, so that natural raw materials have a totally different impact because they are the biodegradable materials. This is the point. I think it is to be highlighted because maybe somebody was ignoring it. What about our strategy as Vitale Barberis Canonico within the Biella territory? To me, it is important to understand the phenomenon of my company. Just 4 slides with some figures to make you understanding that environmental impact is fundamental. We mainly produce in Italy, the roasting mill in Magnano and 2 mills in Praia e Pratrivero, so that we are talking about Biella territory. Last year, we performed 145 million of turnover and 491 employees. 51% of them is work for females. We have produced 8.5 million meters of fabrics, which accounts for 3 million of fabrics. We are working with fine and very fine wools, 70.5 microns, more or less, and we wear more or less 4 million kilos of greasy wool, more or less 1.5 million of sheep, mohair, linen, silk, and cotton. So the silky silkworm is not something that we kill. Our segment is high quality sectors. We perform everything in Italy, and our production has some effects in Italy. We treat important wool because it is biodegradable as far as our collections are concerned. I would like just to stress some data with some video.
Se può farlo partire la regia.
This is a shakedown. Order up that beat just like it's takeout. Show me you got soul inside those little shoes, and you can rock and roll with an attitude. So good, so fresh, just the way you like it. Just the way you like it. So good, so fresh. You're the new MC, you got the remix. Keep it on repeat, just let the beat kick. Everywhere you go, you bring the roof down. Everybody knows you got your own sound. So good, so fresh, just the way you like it. Just the way you like it.
Ops. Allora,
Some aspects that have been described in the video are very important. The reason why I would like to talk about water and sustainability is because we are dealing with a sustainability strategy. These are the certification of our company, but sustainability is also declining into 3 sectors: measuring all the factors, certifications, but also having some clear data and some long-term objectives to improve the situation, and also certifying by third parties the truth, because somebody sometimes shows something that are not true. Our sustainability is related to people, the first element of our sustainability, even before water, then environment, so water, CO2 production, and so on, and product, as I said before, natural product with very low and limited impact. Water, linked to environment, is very important because, as I said before, water, to us, it is not just something linked to process, but because water is the element that supports us, because 491 people working within our company is something that water is used in dyeing process, washing process, and finishing process, which allow us to reach excellent product. So it is representing a production element, not just something that measure the impact of our company. Sustainability is a path because it is a strategy. We have started back in the past in 1982. So we started with bathing and dyeing, starting from 1 to 20. Nowadays we are working with 1 to 8. I skipped some stages, but in 2001 we have renovated a dyeing mill with high automation structures, so that human sustainability means a concept work instead of a mechanical one, which means less use of chemicals, because the measuring is more precise, issued in the water, and then less usage of water within the process. In 1987, we have decided to install a wastewater treatment plant, so no chemicals within our biological process, where water is treated from water basins in Valsesia and in Biella. It is treated and reissued in the rivers. In 1996, we started working within the water coming from finishing process. So we use some water for the embellishment stages of the pipeline, but also we recover thermal waste used in dyeing, because we are working with temperatures ranging from 80 to 20. The purifying, exchange, and treat these temperatures, reissuing in the finishing or in the embellishment stages. So we are recovering also temperature to use and to reduce energy that we are implementing for our production. In 2009, we have launched the certification path, but we have also changed the power plants. There were tar in wastewater, it is true, but on that period, all companies started leaving BTZ and they shift to gas. High efficient power plant, reaching 92% of efficiency on the gas, lowering emissions and lowering temperature. That was some of the problems that we faced in the previous stage. Maybe I'm that technical, but it is important to describe all these steps. I skipped some stages. In 2019, we started using 100% renewable electricity, so we dealt a contract with hydropower providers. So water is important because to us, water is important within the process, but also to generate energy. We are using 37 million of kilowatt from photovoltaic panels, but more than 80% of these comes from hydropowers, so that water is the core of our pipeline process. So we are using the water from rivers. And then sustainability linked to chemicals and chemical processes, because basically we use the water to dye, lowering our environmental impact within the dyeing process that then have been purified. In 2016, we started water recycling lining finishing, and we have inserted some very fine filters in the membrane, allowing us to reuse water, and nowadays we reached 28%, and we are working a lot. In 2018, we started with the certification path and the first sustainability report delivered to our clients to show them that we are working on the product, considering what we are doing as a whole. So that we're talking about people, our employees, who represent the focus of our sustainability process. We have been acknowledged with a certification and a corporate welfare with some health insurance and so on. The silent booth for employees working within the production department to reduce also the physical impact on human beings. This is something that we should consider linked to sustainability. Another point is then linked to environment and water. We have basically decided to use power from renewable resources, water, wind, and hydropower plants, and those 37 million allows us to 37 kilowatt used allows us to save energy, accounting for 14,300 tons of CO2. Basically, we are using 350,000 cubic meter of water, and our impact on water is very low. The concept is basically that on a garment we use 2.5 meters of fabric, so that we are using 95 liters of water per garment. So we are recycling 28% of the general amount. This is an important project to reach 40%, reducing the usage of water, shifting from 95 to 45. This is one of the ambitious projects we are carrying out. We have already certified some particular chemicals combined with a low environmental impact. Another point is that we are trying to cut raw materials so that we are using, of course, pure wool and natural raw material. But 90% of yield of raw material, more or less 9%, is used for byproducts that have been reincorporated, especially within the kitchenware, and then 0.7% disposed as waste, final waste. As far as products are concerned, of course, product is the core within the process, also linked to consumers' behavior. First of all, some elements that are concerning the textile industry. Our product has a very long cycle process. Our garment compared to polyester t-shirt is very different because it is biodegradable, and if somebody do not have to change size, of course, it is a long-lasting product. The point is that we are working on traceability, allowing and enabling our clients to recognize and trace back the production process of this garment and its impact, listing the figures, not just relation to water, of course, and also the certification, of course. I was wondering to say something to Ministry. It is not useful to quote the amount of energy that we waste and so on, but it is true that we are importing waste from outside. Minister Pichetto has right when he says, okay, we should invest to create high quality and excellent products. We are investing more or less 1 million euro for sustainability purposes. But in Italy, we are importing a lot of products coming from abroad, and those foreign countries do not comply with those requirements. So it is not just enough to say, okay, we try to improve our efficiency and allow customs to test and to certify and to check all those rules. As Tessile Salute Association and textile industry, it is not enough because we have to consider two elements: regulation from one end, but also tax from the other one, because it is easy to say, okay, let's import these products, low-cost products, to support our consumers, but the environmental impact is caused here. So Minister Pichetto is right, but we should also consider other elements, because some companies importing those countries should be envisaged in a different framework, okay? Because the rules should exist also for importing processes of this company, because that product which produced the vast majority of waste in Italy, we should consider the recycling process, but also the tax on to stop the consumption. I wish you a very good work and see you soon.
Grazie Alessandro, e sicuramente
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Yes, this is very important. And we want to transfer this message to Minister Pichetto. Ludovico Maggio, the floor is yours.
Eccoci qua, alzo. Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank Mrs. Greggio for her invitation. It is an honor to be here and also speak in the name of the companies from Biella, or some of them at least. Many things were said by my colleague before, Alessandro, on some topics, and on those we might be talking for hours. On regulations that are sometimes too strict for companies that produce in Italy, that manufacture in Italy, and sometimes they are more generous with other entities. But I don't want to enter into this today. What's very important to highlight now is the role that businesses can have in the road towards sustainability. A constant dialogue between companies and institutions must always be there to improve the production capacities and the quality of the products that we Italian business make. I have some slides and I would like them to be broadcast so that we have some scheme for the speech. As Vitale Barberis Canonico, we are also a company that is located in Occhiepo Superiore, 3 minutes from here by car. We have been on the territory since 1780. My sister and I are the 9th generation working in the textile industry. Sustainability has always been a basic concept for a family and for a company. So much so that there was never a production that left the province of Biella. So we are not just made in Italy, but really made in Biella. We employ approximately 60 people working in our plant with more than 350 customers around the world. The main slicer for turnover is the Italian market, but we also have our other very important markets, such as the US, France, and Turkey, in the field of luxury. People who can appreciate and support our fabrics. Last year, 2022, was a record year for us. We could overcome 1 million meters delivered and manufactured. This might seem not a very sustainable figure, but we will see that the logics behind these figures are and are meant to comply with some parameters. Differently from Barberis Canonico, in our company, we have a dyeing department that doesn't have the sizes they mentioned. They consume much more water than we do because their volumes are different from ours. They mention more than 8 millimeters. So you can see the difference. But our department is also matched with the weaving department with more than 40 circular machines that allows us to have a wide variety of fabrics that are very much appreciated by our customers. I put in these slides a reminder of a project that we have embraced together with other business, that is Magnolab. It is a project that is very much linked with sustainability and the topics that make the object of this forum. We always say that in Biella we struggle to work as a team. Instead, this is an example of going beyond this paradigm with teamwork. And it is up to us, to the new generations, to pave the road for, to provide an example for all the people who live in the territories, to make young people stay on the territory and provide an added value to those who stay. The main points of Magnolab are those that you can read. So we have a textile research and development center aiming at the design of circular economy projects, sustainability and innovation. And one of the main points that we are going to work on altogether is try and find some types and methods for production that can have lesser impact on the environment. Here you can see one of the many definitions of sustainability. I am not an expert, but it is clear that sustainability is the meeting between the needs and the goals of present with the expectations of future generations. We have to realize that the Earth has some assets and resources that are not endless. We must be able to identify them and make the best possible use of them. Otherwise, it will be impossible for the next generations to be able to afford what we have had. Here we also have a list of concepts, but this is mainly something important linked to linear economy. That is the one that was followed by previous generations, and now instead we are going towards circular economy. So we want to input in the market some products that can have a circular use, so they can be reused and their value is really sustainable, literally. The Sustainable Development Goals have also been mentioned before. These are criteria that have been written on paper, but we have to make them come true. So the businesses have a crucial role in paving the ways. And these ways must be something that we can implement, because we always say that we have to pollute less, we have to be sustainable, but this is not something that you do from one day to the next. We must all be rowing in the same direction, and we need concrete strategies to move towards the realization of these goals. They are all equally important. In the slide on Magnolab, you might have seen the Goal 17, Partnerships for the Goals, in a world that is more and more global and united, well, I would say economically. Let's leave the rest on one side. It is clear that cooperation between companies and governments is crucial. No, we can't just walk alone. The concept of sustainability is very wide, and it is also contemplated in our constitution. We have two articles of our constitution, Article 9 and Article 41, which mention the interest of future generations and the environment. So, economic initiative private economic initiative must always be free, and it must be valorized and supported by the government, but it must be developed in view of safety, freedom, and human life, and of course in compliance with health and the environment. And Article 9 says that the Republic of Italy must promote the development of culture and scientific and technical research, but that also respecting some aspects such as the environment, biodiversity, and ecosystems in the interest of future generations. The Italian legal frame and the European framework also tackle some issues. Let me just mention the extended producer responsibility. As companies, we are often faced, just to start some debate, we sometimes have to abide by some requirements that are very difficult to implement also by our clients. They sometimes are brands that work a lot on communication, so they mention sustainability, green practice, and then they are also the ones that do not accept some garments or some fabrics or some pieces because maybe the color is not exactly the one that the designer wanted. Of course, we have to provide quality, and we need continuity. The clients must always be satisfied, but we sometimes are faced with inconsistencies or contradictions. And we feel alone in front of this. So we also want other brands to play their part, because sustainability cannot be unilateral. I am carrying on to reach some concepts that my colleague mentioned before. That is the fact that sustainability happens thanks to a measurement of the impact. As a company, we don't have the same size and volumes of Vitale Barberis Canonico. Nevertheless, we are already working on a 360-degree sustainability strategy. And we will also have the first sustainability report concerning 2 categories of products that are developed and manufactured in our plant in Ochiepo Superiore. So the life cycle assessment that really embraces the principle of circularity of products. Here you have an explanation of what circular economy is from the point of view of companies, but also in the eyes of everyone. And so this is why also the relation with institutions is important. We have to reach a model that is 100% circular, so that the production impact is more and more limited over time. I want to reach the most important point, that is sustainability in water. It was said that Italy is, and not only Italy, but let's speak of our country, we are in a situation of water stress, which is quite serious. This is very bad. Sometimes in Italy, the water that is withdrawn for agriculture or for the industry is more than the amount that we actually can have. That is the amount of water that we store in our soil thanks to groundwater and rain. And you can see that the impact of floods and natural catastrophes that we have been seeing, we had an impact of billions of euros. And these are the forecasts when we don't understand that something must be done. I am not an environmentalist as an end in itself. This is not the message I want to convey. The message I want to convey is that companies and businesses have a crucial role to play to pave the way and tell the institutions that it is very important to protect water. As a company, we have volumes that are not very high, but in spite of this, we are trying and implement systems that can make us save water. This is mainly done with cutting-edge machines that really allow us to finish the dyeing bath with less water and energy compared to older machines. And all this in a system that will also make us have a recovery of the heat from boilers, so that the water that is used for dyeing and washing the fabrics, that must be at approximately 50-60 degrees Celsius, has already reached the temperature, and so we have to consume less energy to heat it up. Of course, water cannot be eliminated and removed from the process of textile production. Water in Biella is absolutely crucial. If the fabrics from Biella are so famous around the world, it is because our water is different. We take water from the Elvo stream, and this allows us to make the beautiful fabrics that are appreciated all around the world. So what we can do is reduce the waste. That is very important. Our ministry mentioned the recovery of wastewater and rainwater. In this country, most water is wasted when it could be reused instead for manufacturing, but also for agriculture and for civic use. So for any possible use of water. And that can also be done with water recycling. At Lanificio Maggia, we are also working on a project that will make us have some membranes as the one that Barberis Canonico have, meant for recycling water. So the same water that is used for washing and sometimes for finishing can also be used 3 or more times, and so the consumption and the waste of water will be as limited as possible. This is a sentence with which I would like to say goodbye. Of course, it is crucial to take the heritage of the past, what has been passed on to us and what has made our city great, but with responsibility. We cannot believe that our assets are endless. We can't think that the world is and always be here for us, but still we can't stop. We have to be a country able to pave the way, able to provide an example. So I agree when it is said that there are countries that waste much more than we do, but please remember that Italy is a country that really marked history. And I think at this time of history, we can be protagonists again. We can pave the way, and I think we can all do that all together. We can stop fighting, we can stop being mad at each other, and we can cooperate. Otherwise, it will be harder and harder. Thank you, everybody.
Io ringrazio.
Thank you very much, Alessandro Barberis Canonico. Thank you, Ludovico Maggia. Also, because by listening your intervention, especially the last one, I was quite moved, because it is beautiful to see how young entrepreneur as Ludovico merged in his daily habits all these sustainable concepts, implementing them within the companies as a whole. I think that this is very, very interesting, merging the corporate activities and the daily habits. Thank you very much and congratulations. We are now entering in the Creative Cities Forum within the UNESCO World. The shadow will be coordinated by architect Vittorio Salmoni, the coordinator of the Network of Creative Cities. Then Professor Andrea Rolando from Politecnico in Milano will intervene on landscape and water, so that the internal activities of Creative City is now open. So please take the seat, and I would like to invite our coordinator to moderate this panel. Welcome. You are the most welcome. Here is the microphone for you. Thank you, Barbara. Yes, I would like just to greet you all. Thank you. Thank you to the mayor of Biella. Thank you, Barbara Greccio, for inviting me and for giving me the opportunity to be here in Biella, gathering all the Italian creative cities. It is very important because, as you may know, each city is bringing its own contribution to the activity of the network of creative cities through protagonists, activities, corporate activities, cultural events. I'm coming from Bergamo, and yesterday we held the yearly summit of the city, and these two events allowed me to understand and find out an extraordinary richness of contribution that our country is offering to the activities that we are carrying out. When we are quite sad about the news that we are listening to, and maybe we are skeptic about some choices that others make, we should think about this extraordinary richness from territories. It is a concrete stimuli that we are trying to put together, because the network of creative cities basically aims at creating relationships among the members, but also making available all the cultural, political, and administrative know-how to the local communities and territories. This is the main objective. We are not just organizing events. Events are useful when we convey the results of the research and investigation that each territory has carried out. Biella, 2 years ago, started with this forum so that they started creating the connection between this network. 2 years ago, Piedmont had a very smart idea, putting together all the creative cities of the UNESCO network, but in the past also in Piedmont region. No cities entered in contact with others. And Biella started inviting each city, creating and sharing network and policies. Today, Biella is offering the issue of sustainability by different perspectives. Mr. Giovanni sailing among the seas and looking to the nature, and entrepreneurs who are producing according to the rules, reducing environmental impact, protecting others, protecting human beings and the local community. I think that those are the main elements that we should reflect on. Widespreading outside Italy, not just because we are the best ones, as far as fashion industry or Italian styles are concerned. It is not just about that, but it is about quality and the sense of responsibility that we have towards other countries that are looking at Italy, being attracted because they need to develop some structures, strategies, and models. We will see that we have been invited in the Biennale of Venice, and this year is talking about Africa. a continent that for a long time has been marginalized from the West world for centuries, for years. However, Africa today is asking to be including, neglecting those mistakes that we made, as, for example, climate crisis that we are limiting now. Africa is now asking for a debate, a confrontation, because they started trying creativity, and through creativity they replaced the lack of resources, so that the exchange in this case is very interesting, because a higher creativity coming from those territories can contaminate us, can help us, and on the other way we can offer some development models that are eco-friendly and eco-sustainable. So that this is the debate. To do that, of course, this is one of the elements that we are facing now. But I would like to invite on the stage the cities that are attending this forum today, but also on streaming. I would like to invite other cities to stay with us that are not physically with us. So I would like to invite Carrara, Councillor Geadazzi, and also focal point Miss Maura Crudeli, the city of Como, Councillor and the focal point Costanza Ferrarini, Pesaro, the Vice Mayor Daniele Vimini. Please take your seat on the stage. And also, Barbara, please come with us. And then also the city of Fabriano with Councillor Maura Nataloni. And the city of Alba with Councillor Emanuele Bolla. I'm not informed about Turin. Or maybe not. They will not be here with us. Okay, Torino with Councillor Rosanna Purke. I would like to greet her. Anyway, we will try to debate and to exchange reflections on what we have seen and what the creative cities have prepared. But first, we will be greeted by the president of our national committee, Mr. Franco Bernabé, that is here through a video. Good morning, everyone. I greet the participants. I would like to thank also the organizers, but above all, I would like to thank the city of Biella for having organized these 2 days for confrontation and debate on one of the most sensitive issues of the moment, that of water and global water resources. There are many initiatives that have been dedicated to this issue. Among others, I would like to remind you the organization by the National Federation of Knights of Labours that has been organized in Genova this year, dedicated to water. But of course, water has certainly been at the center and the core of the debate in these 2 years. The drought, global warming, and all those issues of sustainability have had water as the important point of reference. And I'm very pleased that this reflection is taking place among the Creative Cities Network, because I think that it is one of the most stimulating initiatives of UNESCO. This is proven by the rapid success that is due to the intuition of linking the theme of creative to that of cities. So those places that, as you know, have the greatest impact in terms of sustainability because they are, well, hosting 50% of 8 billion people living on Earth. Urban agglomeration just occupy 2% of the surface of our planet, but they consume up to the 60% of global energy, releasing 75% of greenhouse gas emissions and produce 70% of global waste. Italy participates in the Creative Cities programs through 13 creative cities and is a very active participant in this program, which was launched by UNESCO in 2015. And now it has 295 entries worldwide, covering the fields of gastronomy, design, craft, music, literature, film, and media arts. These programs is also the source of many initiatives that have been promoted by Italian creative cities. Only a few days ago, by the way, the group of Italian creative cities participated in an event about the memory and the city of the future as part of the Venice Biennale. At the end of the month, we will have another meeting with an international slant in Bergamo, but all our network cities organize meetings that have a great cultural impact, both locally, nationally, but also internationally. And we have always promoted and adhered with great conviction to those initiatives. Personally, I believe that this represents a way of giving cities an important role and visibility in order to promote and foster the competitive advantages and the deep cultural elements which distinguish every single city. Biella, for sure, is a city that had deserved to be a protagonist of the creative cities for its cultural dynamism that it is witnessed by the various foundations active in the area, for the highly successful entrepreneurial activity, which is reflected in the international renowned brands. But it also represents an ideal place to talk about water and the future of water, because water is life and it is life in many ways. The first living forms would not have developed without this element, which covers 2/3 of the planet, and that has been present since the earliest stages of the formation of the Earth, which I remind you is the only planet in our solar system where water exists in liquid form. Water is a simple little molecule made of 3 atoms. But over billions of years, it has shaped every corner of the earth. It has carved out valleys, eroded mountains, furrowed the course of rivers, and it has also had, and still has, a great cultural impact. It is at the core of religious rituals, of the myths such as the universal flood that submerged the whole fallen humanity to give birth to a new world through water cows. Water has been loved and desired, but also feared when it was thought to be harmful to the health of people, and its sparing use was recommended. It has conditioned human settlements over the millennia and favored the birth first of cities that managed the irrigation system necessary to the Neolithic agricultural revolution, and then of the first great political organizations from Egypt to Mesopotamia, from China to India. But water is also a source of energy. In traditional societies, the primary driving forces were human and animal muscle power, wind, and above all, water. Hydropower, through the various types of mills that have been invented by human genius, has been used for all the needs of life: the grinding of grains, the processing of timber, the working of metals, minerals, but also the production of ceramics. Energy produced by water also played a key role during the Industrial Revolution. The new textile industry, dating back to the 19th century, were highly dependent on water. And the example of Biella in this regard is symbolic, as shown by the location of the city's textile district along Cervo River, according to a pattern that is repeated in the adjacent valleys, but which is also repeated under the same condition throughout northern Italy, from Veneto to Lombardy to Piedmont. Biella also reminds us that water continues to represent one of the primary sources of power production. Power production is in our country is linked to the construction of numerous dams and hydroelectrical reservoirs that today are under pressure for the drought caused by the climate crisis, which limits its use for energy purposes, but that in the past represented one of the greatest sources for wealth for cities. I remind, for example, you that the level of the hydroelectric reservoirs was the sources of the so-called Ambrosian income in Milan. And the level of those basins was looked at to determine the city's wealth, so that it represents a precious resource, but one that must be managed with an awareness of the risk involved in its exploitations. As the Vajont disaster, whose 60th anniversary was celebrated on 9th of October in the presence of the President of the Republic, Mr. Mattarella, reminds us. So, water today is at the core of the world's concerns. Many wars have been and are being fought to control the water supply. Climate crisis and environmental emergency are jeopardizing the availability in many areas of the planet. And the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development deals with these extensively in Goal 6 regarding the generalized provision of drinking water and sanitation. But water also contributes to achieve other goals of the agenda, such as those related to fighting poverty and hunger and improving health. Much progress has been made in recent years, but as was certified by the World Summit on Sustainable Development Goals held last month in New York during the UN General Assembly, much remains to be done. And the agenda lags behind the 2030 deadline, also including goals of the water target. In this framework, UNESCO plays a significant role through the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, promoting international cooperation among its 150 member states, marine sciences to improve the management of the oceans, coasts, and marine resources. The World Water Assessment Programme, based in Perugia and financed by Italy, which produces an annual global report on the state, use and management of the world's water resource. UNESCO also contributes with biosphere reserve, geoparks network, and natural sites on the World Heritage List. These are all initiatives aiming at protecting environment and its component. The challenges about water, as I think will emerge strongly during these 2 days of debate, are all-round challenges. They concern environmental emergency and climate crisis, the protection of landscape, the fight against hydrological instability, conscious and sustainable consumption, but also new lifestyles that take into account and consider the scarcity of good adaptation and mitigation, global warming, irrigation and food production, and the fight against desertification. Beyond those challenges of water, we perfectly know that the motivation for a substantial part of the migratory flows we have been witnessing for several decades now hard to be found. UNESCO was founded at the end of the Second World War to contribute to peace among the people of the world through international cooperation in the fields of science, education, culture, communication, and information. Dealing with water, we have already seen, means trying to de-emphasize the global regional crisis linked to many critical issues that I've just mentioned. Today, talking about water, we talk about peace, focusing on creativity to find sustainable solution to an epoch-making challenge of ensuring water for all. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all good work.
Very much focused on our debate and the current situation, let me take this chance to welcome Mr. Moscatelli and the president of Como's water system and the project Como for Green Water of Como Creative City. So, good morning. Thank you for being here. I now would like to share the greetings of the Goodwill Ambassador, Mrs. Merloni. Let me remind you that she was the protagonist of the launch of Fabriano, and she was also the focal point until 2017 when she was designed as Goodwill Ambassador. Fabriano also hosted in 2019 the annual conference of creative cities. That was basically the last annual conference before the pandemics, and a lot of cities were there. So let us hear from Francesca Merloni. Good morning, everybody. I am very pleased to be here, although remotely, to participate in this important moment and meeting, and an opportunity for reflection and awareness. This is what I wish on all of you who are participating in the Biella Forum Creative Cities 2023. So my congratulations to the city of Biella, the mayor, the councillor, Mrs. Greggio, and to all the citizens of Biella for the contribution they are providing to the Creative Cities network. I thank you for this moment. Many things have already been said, and many themes will make the object of reflections. This topic is very crucial. Water is one of the four elements, maybe the most feminine, seen as a generation force for life, as a spiritual element, and at the same time a material one, as a place where the spirit hovers, the great waters. This should recall us a deep respect and also care and attention and observation of the water movement, their silence, listening to their subtle sound. I am not going to add a lot of words to everything that you said before, only my appreciation for everything that Biella and its citizens and administration are doing. Congratulations for protecting this important heritage for humanity. Now more than ever, it is important to be UNESCO, to join, have our say, and state our deep link. I am greeting you with a lot of affection, and I promise I will be there on a future occasion. Let me say goodbye in the words of a poet, José Ángel Valente, who said, "Son with sea you are. The sea is inside you, drinking the sea inside you, because waters can never end." With this perspective of infinity, let me wish you very good proceedings and awareness.
Grazie Francesca.
Thank you, Francesca. As our president, Mr. Barnabé, reminded us, and as I said in my introduction, we had a very important meeting 1 week ago in Venice at the Biennale. It was not just the value of the meeting in itself. When we put our network in touch and in direct cooperation with the most important cultural institution in our country and one of the most important in the world. It was also the topic, the subject, what matters. That is, to look at memory, protect and keep memory to plan the future, to create and design those policies that can change our cities. And it was an important moment also because creative cities started working together. Despite some contradictions and some difficulties, that they took that cultural and operational step, and they reached the maturity that lets them present altogether in a different and greater awareness. So with this momentum, I would like to now leave the floor to Gea Dazzi from the from the city of Carrara, representative of Carrara Creative City, to speak of the things that we mentioned before. And I thank her for all the things that Carrara did. Let me remind all the speakers that our time is limited, so they are allocated 8 minutes each. Please, Gea. Thank you. Good morning. This is still the morning. So good morning, everybody. I would like to thank the city of Biella, Barbara Greggio, for her invitation. Once more, we are given a very good opportunity to prove, as Vittorio Salmoni said before, creative cities really are trying to work in team and to convey their ideas and projects in a single identity that can maybe strengthen our mission. Carrara, as Biella, is a creative city by UNESCO for arts and for crafts and folk art. In our case, we work natural stone as marble characterizes our Appian Alps. It is one of the most typical rocks. It is known as the white gold, and it characterized the production and extraction activity in Carrara, but also crafts and arts for centuries, basically starting from the Roman period when extraction started, when the mining activity really started. But now I would like to mention also the blue gold of Carrara, that is our water. This is also one of the reasons why we were acknowledged as a UNESCO Geopark in 2015. This acknowledgement makes us proud, but also more aware of the importance of this great ecosystem that must be protected, and the administrations are in charge of this. As we can see in this picture, the Appian Alps are really a great water reserve. Most of it is drinkable, and they are developed in this phenomena that is the Appian karst, very deep caves underground of the karst underground. This environment is very peculiar for the biodiversity it contains and also the geodiversity. Such deep karst phenomena become especially important according to what the water provision, the provision of drinking water is a huge tank that is very precious. In our country, more than 40% of drinking water resources come from karstic springs. And this resource is going to increase also according to FAO data. In particular, our Alps also contains some records in Italy based on this karst phenomena. For instance, we have the entrance of Corchia, that is one of the widest karst caves, approximately 53 kilometers long. It is also true that the Appian Alps are affected by centuries of mining activity, which represents an urgent issue. How can we protect this very important basin that is linked to our identity, but we must protect it for future generations, so that we can also protect our environment? Of course, the City Council is also in charge of some initiatives for the protection of the geopark and our extraction basin. In particular, the implementation plan of our City Council has some measures for environmental protection. In the first point, 8 goals are listed for landscape quality, and Article 4 includes a discipline for the environment. So it really deals with the protection of springs, wells, waters, and superficial waters, working waters, and also the protection of the quarries, drains, and wastes, and also the management of the powder that is produced, that is calcium carbonate, which is put into the environment. And a lot of associations and environmental protection foundations are worried about this because it makes our stream a different color, so they look dirty. A lot of analysis have been done. They are quite controversial. Some people say this is not particularly pollutant. What is certain is that it is necessary, and it is clearly said in our document that these streams must be clean and that we don't want any accumulation or deposit, so we have to clean the excavation areas. And our City Council is implementing some measures, such as specific certifications. We recently applied the EMAS certification, and some companies are complying. One of the initiatives is the reuse of this waste material. So in view of sustainability and circularity of the mining activities and the production activities, so that we can reuse these waste materials. The topic is very wide, and of course, if you are interested, you can find specific documentation on it. What I would like to tell you about, as I am the Councillor for Culture and Education, but Barbara said that before, all this must enter the schools, must be known to our students, pupils, and young generations. So we also have territorial initiatives that start from school programs and in our geopark. We also have cultural activities and initiatives that can help raise awareness on this. One project that I would like to tell you about, if we have a couple of minutes, I also have a video for you. It is the ALDA project. This was implemented thanks to an association that is very much active on the territory, the Oltre Association, based on an idea of the deputy president of this association, Elisa Marrone. This was designed in a wider project for some actions, which started in a museum of contemporary art, and the title is To Reconcile. So we really need to reconcile on delicate topics, the community with cultural agencies and the city council. ALDA means free water from the Apuan Alps, and it was introduced also in another project in our territory, that is the Open Studios project. On our territory, we have more than 100 open workshops that process natural stone, and they can be visited at some time of the year. So this is a circuit we would like to work with as a city council. And on one of these occasions, this project was presented. It includes a mapping of our historical fountains. In Carrara, we have these real monuments that were done by our prince in the 16th century as urban decoration. They were done locally, and these are real sculptures. But what the ALDA project wanted to do, apart from highlighting these valuable monuments in our city that you can see mapped here, was really creating this water bottle with an intention to make people find them, and with a QR code that is on the bottle, tourists can immediately find these fountains to get water, drinking water. This water is also very pure. It requires very little purification because it already has a very good quality. So this mapping allowed us to make our students or tourists know these fountains. Although they pass in front of them every day, they might not be aware of their history. So they can be aware of where the closest water point is. And this water is free of charge, of course. And they can also know some legends about these fountains. And they also have some importance in literature, even connected to Dante Alighieri himself. Just let me add a note on these public fountains. Although there is a tap, we open diversified fronts. So some people think that this is also a waste of drinking water. But we actually believe that drinking water is not wasted with public fountains. Many important cities and even UNESCO cities have implemented. I know that Turin and Milan are spreading the delivery of drinking water. They actually have an important function. They release the pressure from the water system in some points of the city. So there's a huge use of public water. And they also purify water because they avoid deposits. So they really optimize our water. In this video, you can see it. We have tried to highlight some anthropological uses in water, especially in the past years. When we went to the fountains to collect drinking water, I have some memories. When I was at my grandmother's place in a village, there was drinking water, but the water from the fountain was much nicer, fresher, and so I remember that we went to the fountain with a big bottle and we collected it because it was considered purer. So there was a difference between this and the water that we had at home. And the video tells a little bit about this anthropological aspect of it. Let's see the video.
In casa l'acqua pochi la avevano e usavamo quella della piazza. E abbiamo la fontana in piazza Alberica dei Leoni che è stata ristrutturata da poco, abbiamo la fontana del Gigante in piazza del Duomo, la Sirena in via Cariona che anche quella è stata ristrutturata da poco, e quando si usciva dalla messa, che c'era la messa, noi si andava subito alla fontana a bere. Cioè, per cui era un contatto diretto con questa fontana.
Anche qui la mia nonna mi mandava a prendere l'acqua alla Sirena, perché l'acqua qui di Grazzano non cuoce i fagioli.
Il perché non lo so, però io mi ricordo una mia zia che mi mandava a prendere l'acqua alla Sirena, proprio appunto
appunto per cuocere i fagioli, perché diceva che con l'acqua della sirena i fagioli cuocevano meglio, ecco, diciamo.
L'altra cosa interessante del ricordo dell'acqua sono i lavatoi. Qui in cima a Grazzano, dove c'era la scuola materna, lì c'era un grosso lavatoio, bellissimo.
Me lo ricordo molto bene perché mia mamma ci portava le mie sorelle e ci portava con questo carico di panni in questo grande lavatoio, perché era grande il lavatoio di Grazzano. C'erano questi due vasconi centrali con delle vaschette distaccate da queste due vasche. Le donne parlavano, si raccontavano dei figli, dei mariti, cosa fai da mangiare oggi, e mio marito è noioso perché non gli piace questo. Io mi ricordo di mia mamma quando aveva finito di lavare tutti questi panni, che ci metteva dentro la vasca, ci spogliava, ci metteva dentro la vasca, ci lavava, ci sciacquava i vestiti che avevamo addosso, li metteva a asciugare e ce li rimetteva per andare a casa.
Io mi ricordo da bimbetta quando la mia mamma mi diceva non avevamo l'acqua in casa perché insomma si faceva un po' alla meglio, si andava a prendere l'acqua per bere e andavo sempre in piazza Alberica. Si andava in piazza Alberica, si prendeva l'acqua bella fresca, si andava, si beveva quest'acqua che era una cosa per noi non plus ultra, insomma, ecco, come posso dire. E venivano la gente a riempirsi con le macchine, ma fino a non so quanti anni fa, anche che avevano già l'acqua in casa, veniva tanta gente a prendere l'acqua e se la portava a casa.
A proposito di memoria.
And still about memory, thank you, Jaya, for your story. So about memory, when we speak of archives and memories, we do not just speak of the historical, cultural, civic archives. We also mean the popular memories, such as in this case, or company archives. And here we certainly have a lot of them, collecting the production and the way it evolved over the centuries. Now I would like to leave the floor to Como, represented by Enrico Colombo, the young councillor who was already noticed in the Creative Cities group, because he is someone who's very attentive and stimulating, and I think he will be an active conscience of our group. And then Maurizio Moscatelli, I don't know how you want to arrange your speech. The time that is allocated to you is the same. Thank you, Vittorio. I wish you a good day, everybody. Yes, we will alternate. I will be more descriptive of the project that we launched in Como, growing as a creative city, and then I will leave the floor to Maurizio. I would like to thank Biella, first of all for this opportunity. We councillors look at our cities as if they were an old, small world, and so we relate to some characters of the traditional Italian culture. We see our territories as something that is our own, as if it was the center of our world. We have the city of Como, of Alba, of Carrara, but when we have this kind of forums, it is crucial because we can finally lift our look from our everyday activity, and we can widen our relationship and interact with colleagues from other cities. And then we go back to our community with with something that makes them grow, and so that we know other excellences. Concerning the path that we took in Como, well, together with Modena, we are the youngest creative cities, and we are also the first that were appointed after the pandemics. So, and I think I can say the same concerning Modena. We also feel that we are responsible to launch again the role of creative cities. So much so that we are leaving the pandemics and lockdown that really affected the companies and the society. And so the essence of a community really struggled. I mean, the essence of human relations. In Como, we are applying these two words, being and growing. Being means creating that sense of belonging. We want to rediscover the excellences that determined our training and the formation and the urban development of our reality throughout the years. Our city was founded in 69 before Christ by Julius Caesar, and it was crucial in the course of history. Just think of Plinium. Our city gave a lot to Italy. I'm just thinking of Paolo Giovio, who invented the museums the way we conceive them today, and then Alessandro Volta. But Como is a creative city due to one of its excellences that we've had for many centuries, that is silk. From the 16th century, we have been trading our fabrics not only in Italy, but in all the world. This is why we are very proud as a silk city, and we are very proud of our folk arts and crafts. Silk was crucial in our social and urban development, and silk is intimately linked to water. My city is based on water. Not only because of the lake, but all the streams that feed the lake and that fed our silk companies. So without this link between the production companies, business and nature, we wouldn't have these changes in the urban context. My city, as other cities, owns its fortune to water, but the relationship with water is a controversial one. We are made of water for 70%, but still we live this conflict with water. Water made the silk industry foster, but it also means the plains of the lake. It means overflowing, it means floods, and sometimes it is dangerous for our citizens. This is why we have this controversial, conflictual relationship. It is nice for us to participate in this debate. Water is so valuable and gives us so much, but at the same time, we have this clash or this conflict with water today still. I would like to close my intervention by leaving the floor to Maurizio, who is going to explain our project linked to green water and textile landscape. Thank you, everybody. Maurizio, please.
Sì, grazie. Intanto anch'io buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. And before telling something about our experience in Como, I would like to share with you just two topics that emerged from the previous interventions. The first, held by the mayor, the ministry, and Mrs. Soldini. The first topic I would like to share with you is being aware that water represents a strategic resource. Of course, we know that, but this awareness is matching with the aware of a problem in managing it. And Mr. Maggia reminds us that the quantity of water that we use for different purposes, corporate or agricultural purposes, represent an amount that is lower than the quantity that the nature is regenerating. And being aware of this, we know and leads us to take our own responsibility as citizens and as institutions. And I think that that responsibility should be taken into account also in the plans and in the projects that as creative cities we are carrying out. The second reflection that I would like to share is an appraisal to the I would like to thank the two companies, Vitale Barberis Canonico and Maggia, because they allow us to catch how the corporate system and companies, especially the ones belonging to our typical supply chains in Como and in Biella, which belong to textile industry. And by the way, Biella, city of wool, but Biella historically was the city of silk, and historical Como, historically before being the city of silk, was the city of wool. In Como there is a street named the Street of Wool, so that these two cities gather within the same history, and according to the companies that intervened before, they highlight the change in the culture of doing business that at the beginning of the fifth industrial revolution that accompanied us during these 2 centuries towards an industrial development. Today, they are proving and testifying a new strategies for the future, and I think that this is positive because they testify us a new system, a new paradigm that should be taken into account as far as responsibility is concerned. Having said that, but to me it was important to highlight, I will try to sum up and to keep up with my slides. And from these slides, I will try to summarize those concepts. I would like to start with this slide, and there is a subtitle recalling the need of promoting a center of competence for the management, the sustainable management of water within textile industry. What center of competence means? The concept and idea results from the typical question that you make when you start projecting something. Okay, who does this? Who does that? In the complexity of this system, we know what to do, but what about who does and develops all those tasks? The title comes from the need of and the aware of manage these complex system. Nowadays, the problem that we are facing is about competences. And I would like to describe the project. For sure, I will skip these data and I will share this video with you, where you can understand what I'm thinking about responsibility. The industrial water main, they come from far away. Ensuring water supply for industrial purposes. We guarantee the water supply, free balance, and the healthy status of these water cliffs, so that the industrial water main was born. And in 1989, it started distributing the water of the lake to the companies of the territory. It feeds the pumping station, and thanks to the 5 pumps, it reaches 1,500 liters per second. The water reaches the tank Vai with 2 pumps. The first one goes until Ragno tank, while the second one feeds the pumps reaching all this territory up to Montofano. And from Ragno tank, the highest point of the tank, the water reaches all these villages. Also thanks to do tanks in Villa Guardia and in Cassina Rizzardi. Then these pumps merge together, shaping a ring, which keep the two pumps separated so that they could not block the feeding of different users. The whole network of the water main has sensors and devices to measure all the levels of the water. All those values are monitored by the control unit, where they analyze and assess the data on a remote control. If a mistake occurs, a message is received and then they can intervene. The industrial water main make available drinking water, but also support the companies using it, save energy and save power since the temperature is lower. So they can streamline the process through all these remote systems to control the water. We are ready to face the future challenges, protecting environment and enlarging our plants. This is a photograph of the Ariana purifying plant. I'm talking about industrial water main because these are the two partners promoting these initiatives within the Como Creative City network. To me, it is important to highlight what I was saying before, so the concept of responsibility that, as you can see, is not something that is arising today, because environmental sustainability is something that belonged also to the past, managing and managers of the 70s. We are recovering this concept and we appreciate this fast-sightening of those managers. We are talking about those plants that, as you can see, are quite old, but they undergo maintenance operations. So that responsibility should be then should be taken into account in a concrete way, facing the reality that is offering many, many problems to us nowadays. This is the reference of our project. In particular, we are dealing with objective number 6. And by 2030, according to this report, we are working to improve the quality of water, reducing pollution, eliminating discharge and wastewater, reducing the issuance of chemicals and harmful materials, halving the percentage of untreated wastewater, and increasing recycling and safe reusing globally. We have already heard these words from the entrepreneurs. I identify myself within this kind of concept, but of course, we are working, trying to face and to meet this responsibility. This is the system of common mechanism. I think that is not that different from Biella's one. As Councillor was talking before, this is a great opportunity that we can take from the lake in Como region, but also in Biella's one. Water enters, but also fabrics and chemicals enters. So sustainability is comprising and including all these concepts. We are focusing on water, but we perfectly know that this system is implicating other elements, so that we should reduce pollutants in general and streamlining the management of those systems, so that we are dealing with companies producing products, high quality products, but also producing emissions to the atmosphere, wastewater, sludges, and this project does not envisage just those two private projects, but this system implicates also Como Aqua, which is a public body. This is to stress the attempt to stay together, to create a common system, also at an operational level. We produce solid waste, and then the system enters the market with the end product. Excellent end products. Okay. Well, I should end. This is the project, implicating many partners. We were talking about competencies. There are about 15 partners within the project, because the project started by a competence assessment. And competencies forced us to interact with, for example, 3 universities, with a technological hub in Portugal. This is a European project, so that the participation is enlarged to foreign bodies. There are some companies participating in the project, and this is the tender that we won. With more or less 5.5 million euro. And again, the distribution result by an assessment of competencies, so that we started just 1 month ago in carrying out this project, reaching those goals. But the main goal, as far as we are concerned, is the PFAS, that are highly used in textile industry, and microplastics. The objective we are trying to reach in 48 months, this is the time lapse that Europe gives us to carry out these plans, is to reduce micropollutants and microplastics in water and in sludges, so that the importance of the relation with Como Aqua, reusing water, not to issuing the water, and eco-textological assessment of water. These are the goals that we are trying to reach. These goals are concrete, so that we are investing in competencies, which represent the premises for this project, but also in technique, in technology, in innovation, and this is an important challenge. Thank you very much.
Sì.
The contribution of our cities is enriching more and more. We have a lot of projects that will be a part of our heritage. And now I would like to leave the floor to Mrs. Nataloni, Councillor for Culture and Beauty in the City Council of Fabriano. Is she here? Oh, yes. Yes, I am. Oh, here you are. We can see you. Sure, please. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the Mayor of the City of Fabriano, and especially thank the City of Biella and Mrs. Barbara Greggio for this very stimulating meeting. We are called to reflect upon very topical themes. I have carefully listened to all the speeches to speak of water and sustainability. These are issues that we are all faced with. Fabriano has a unique relationship with water, as Fabriano started on a river, and the name Faber Janus actually reminds us of a carpenter who was on the river Llano and beating with its hammer. And on the river, also paper was born. Paper is also a typical product of Fabriano. I am sorry that I could not show a video, but actually a sheet of paper is born in water. And you can see that with a level we can lift and a sheet of paper becomes reality. So water and paper is a perfect match. Paper is the most sustainable element, the one that has the lesser environmental impact, especially when it is handmade. We spoke of paper and sustainability at a recent event with UNESCO, Paper and Culture, last September, where paper was the protagonist of the topic of sustainability. There were also companies, businesses that produce paper machines, and nowadays that paper is also industrial. It is not only handmade, but it is produced with machines that have a very low environmental impact, close to zero, because they aim at decarbonization. And this is also what the businesses in our city had to do to adapt to the current needs. So with these machines, we aim at curbing the consumption of water and optimize the use of water and of energy. Sustainability, therefore, is a crucial topic also in the modernization of our industries. They are trying to adapt production to the needs and requirements of lesser environmental impact that we have today. Fabriano is still producing handmade paper of very high quality and paper for aquarelle that is particularly appreciated. For watercolor, we have an international festival in Fabriano, and there are also watercolors produced in Fabriano, and people come from all over the world. And paper for watercolor is only made in Fabriano. So these artists can only paint this paper that is still made by cotton and water. So natural fibers, as it was said this morning. We do not have nanomaterials that might pollute or have an environmental impact. Water is the symbol of our city. In the iconic image that is also shown on our sheets of paper, there is a fountain to convey this meaning to the link between water and paper. And as Carrara said, we have beautiful fountains, not only the central one, but many that remind us of this link between water and paper. Fabriano is not just paper. Fabriano has some mechanical businesses, and we've had them for a couple of centuries. And this industry that is now evolving is currently assessing and evaluating projects for the production of machines that have a very little environmental impact. So water and its sustainability can also be applied in the field of mechanics. These topics are very important for our country, for our city, sorry. They are also included in our development plan, and we have a very ambitious project that we are pursuing with all our energy, is to create an international paper museum where we might host valuable historical documents. And so I would also like to join the archive topic. Our historical memory must be the basis of what is used for automation and future development. So all our projects turn around paper, mechanics, and they are always supported by the pillar of sustainability. So it is very nice to have a dialogue on that. And as our ministry said, we really need to set a cultural model of saving energy and water, a proper community lifestyle that can really leave us with a sustainable world for the future generations. And these meetings are particularly stimulating and inspiring, because with this we can suggest new ideas for innovation and also for other countries and cities. I thank you for this opportunity, and I am particularly proud of belonging to this network, because with these cultural exchanges I think we can all then bring home some contributes that other cities have shared with us. Thank you. Thank you, Maura. Thank you for your witness and also for reminding us about the paper and culture event in September. That was the start of a new season for Fabriano Creative City and its network. And now I would like to leave the floor to Mr. Vimini, Deputy Mayor of Pesaro, Creative City for Music, not only because, as you might know, on the 1st of January 2024, Pesaro will be the capital of Italian culture. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Vittorio. And of course, I also would like to thank Mr. Corradino and Barbara for their enthusiasm in Biella and in giving new ideas to this network, and also for this new appointment here. So thank you for this wonderful hospitality. Creative cities. Well, we are cities, first of all. Cities as a network, as a system. It was well reminded by Mr. Soldini from the boat. So the city is also a big boat. We have a feeling of belonging, of sharing. We share anxieties and hopes and perspectives, but we are also an open system, but a closed system sometimes. So we are all responsible, and we must feel like that. All our citizens are responsible and have individual responsibilities. This is what we do in our cities to counter global warming, starting from the emissions. Today, we are not speaking of urban regeneration, but in the case of Pesaro, we have two actions, one that is very much layered, that is called Bicipolitana. We have exported it to other cities like Rimini and somehow also Paris. This is a resilient network of bike tracks with colors and real sites that are interesting in the city, and this has reduced the use of cars. So every year, together with Bolzano, we are the cities that make the most use of bikes. One resident out of three in Pesaro uses the bike all the year round. And this actually influences the use of the reduction of emissions. And so we are also working to reduce that 1% contribution that Italy gives. So those cities must also find innovative ways to reduce that. And in some projects, we have also introduced an element of innovation, at least in the city center. We are a Roman-based, a Roman-founded city. We have the Cardo and Decumano. On the Decumano, we have important public buildings, a very old, very ancient library. And we have this experience that is called carbon-free Decumano in the city center. We exploit the condensation ring and the river, and also the temperature difference between the surface water and the groundwater. And with this, we are making this ring that will allow in the future maybe to rework iron. We also would like to involve private buildings for the issue of warming, so that building warming can also, so that heating can also be sustainable. But we are also an observatory, a weather observatory. Valerio is one of the oldest, so we have a very good continuity in Italy with other cities, and we insist on Ossisuri, that are our public gardens. And I would like to thank those who came before us. They were created in the 19th century. We also have the Royal Observatory 4 years ago on the beach of Pesaro. That is a great place. There was the first deposition of eggs of the turtles. So it was the northern case ever reported, and we were happy about that. We also helped the association to make the eggs open, maybe also helping the nest a little bit. But that is a problem. If turtles that are present in the Adriatic Sea can now nest at the level of Pesaro, well, that means that the climate is really changing. We were only beaten by Jesolo, which means that the heat is going up, and we have to consider that. So the sea is warming up, and last year we worked with Umbria, with the municipality of Gubbio. Pesaro had an effect of very hot water, as our ministry and Mr. Soldini also reminded us, which generate these storms that do not end. There's in an exchange of cold and hot water. The water that goes up is so hot that it self-regenerates, and there's an amount of water that it is hard to forecast, also on the coast. And it is nearly impossible to manage. Then we have very little distance from the beach to the mountains, no more than 40 minutes by car. And so we were faced with this phenomenon, and we saw the tragical effects of it, also in the province of Ancona and Senigallia. And that is more or less the same thing that happened in Romagna in May. All this to say that we are introducing these topics in our actions. It is important to dialogue with other cities and to create a network. We have made at the monastery of Fontanellana that dates back to the year 2000. There we had the first meeting of the Cultural Capital program. So 50 towns in the province were involved, and each of them will be the capital city for a week. This monastery has an incredible history. It has it owns the text of the Commanderly's rule, and it is a candidate for a UNESCO acknowledgement. For many years we have tried to explain how forests should be treated to have a benefit for humankind, but also for them to regenerate. And this is something that we will also do in this program. We also have a project that is called the Capture of Culture. So we will also deal with the landscape, but with sustainability. So the goals of the 2030 agenda also have to do with it. We also work with technology, like digital technologies, but also ancient technologies, because we want to restate healthy principles for sustainability. We have 50 towns, apart from Pesaro. Another important town is Fermiano. There we have some sort of university seat. So also in Fermignano we have important teachers and a former wool plant, wool mill, Carotti, which at the beginning of the century was reconverted into one of the first hydropower plants. I would like you to show the image of it. You see this village is also very charming. Apart from this chimney, and water is not feeding the mills and the machines, but a small power plant that makes half the village work, that is powering half of the village. And inside it was transformed with a very good refurbishment into an art center for contemporary art. So during these days we have an exhibition by Toccafondo, and so we have been working on the mill, on the factory. This is something that can provide an idea of what it is. Maybe we have some more pictures. No, we don't, but anyway, it also hosts an award-winning ceremony that we organized with the Academy of Fine Arts from Urbino, but also in London and Cairo, to give space for young artists to receive a contemporary art award for their productions. And I would like to end on another note: sound archives, and how can we tell about climate change, the impact of the forests. And for this, I would like to show a video to tell you about our chronosphere, because this will also be one of the main topics of the cultural capital. So we only have a 1-minute video about Sonosfera.
Sonosfera, un anfiteatro tecnologico per l'ascolto profondo di ecosistemi e musica, unico al mondo e brevettato a livello internazionale come spazio mobile.
This was patented internationally as a movable space. The audience will be in a transparent chamber, 45 spaces in a sonometric dome that is acoustically perfect, and it can reproduce the sound landscape with very high definition, with a projection surface all around at 24K. Fragments of extinction in the climate clock is in contaminated landscapes. This is how Pesaro launches a message on the global crisis of biodiversity and the ecological transition that is now very urgent.
Qui ci siamo posti il tema, del contributo di una...
We are suggesting the topic of a UNESCO city to music in this debate on climate changes. Starting from the work with our conservatory, we have an electronic music workshop that was started 54 years ago, and so we work together with painting and music, and we have some recordings of forests and uncontaminated areas. With a microphone, we could record the sounds, and reproduce the same, replay the same experience. So we have dozens of sounds that can be replayed, and they will probably disappear one day. So we are recording animal noises that are probably disappearing right now. And it will turn also into a great message. It was opened in January 2020 in front of the European President, Mr. Sassoli, and this museum can also be disassembled and taken to other cities. Then we had to stop, but now we are going to launch it again in view of the year 2024, and also because we will be the Italian capital of culture. So I make a call to other UNESCO cities, not only concerning music. This can also tell about other things. We can record ecosystems, orchestras, existing music, but it can also be used for electronic compositions. We had a first world contest last year that was spread in the UNESCO network for electronic music for Sonosphere. It has to be done in different countries, but then in the theater you can have the sound from every direction. There was a strong participation, and this year we also had an upgrade. The contest will be done together with Paris and Milan. So there will be a first stage in Pesaro. We will select the finalists in Paris. And then in March, we will have the award ceremony and final concert in Milan, and it will also be done in Paris. So, speaking of crafts and arts, maybe we have some electronic musicians, and I extend this invitation to you. The contest was launched some days ago, and we still have a few weeks to send our compositions.
Per finire abbiamo il contributo del nostro...
Our coordinator, as Fabriano Creative City, the coordinator of the cluster Craft and For Hulk, gathering Como, Biella and Fabriano, so that I would like to have the connection with Mary Hammond.
Thank you for inviting Paducah to be part of the Cities Forum. I'd like to share a little bit about Paducah. Rivers are at the very core of life in Paducah. The city is dependent upon the rivers. Paducah is located in the center of the country. Just picture Chicago, go south to St. Louis, then Paducah, Memphis, and New Orleans. All are connected by the rivers. Paducah sits at the confluence of the Ohio and Tennessee rivers. Just a few miles either direction are the Cumberland and the Mississippi rivers. There are 2 locks and dams that form 2 of the largest man-made lakes in the country. Kentucky Dam on the Ohio River is also a hydroelectric plant operated by the Tennessee River Valley Authority. The lock at the dam is essential to river traffic. Towboats with barges carrying grain, rock, fuel, and other commodities travel through the lake and join the Tennessee-Tombigbee waterways that ends at the Mobile Bay and the Gulf of Mexico. Kentucky Lake has 1,500 miles of shoreline. The Twin River, the Cumberland River, is dammed to form Lake Barkley. The dam is operated by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and was built for navigation, flood control, and hydropower. There are 4 power plants in the dam. Between the lakes is an area called Land Between the Lakes, and it is a national recreation area operated by the National Forestry Service. Formerly a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, the 170,000 acres serves as a demonstration site for public land management, outdoor recreation, and environmental education studies to develop best practices. The inland rivers provided a mode of transportation for westward expansion. The fresh water, rich soil, and abundant wildlife were attractive to sustain life. River transportation brought people to Paducah to trade and conduct business. Successful business led to healthcare and hospitals being built. These assets continue to support the town. The location of the city and its services led to pioneers and immigrants who settled here and brought culture from their home countries. They traveled with only their most needed and prized possessions to make a new life. Cloth was precious. When worn clothing was reused until scraps were pieced together to make a coverlet, layers were added for warmth and stitched together, following the style of the old European quilts, using stitches taught by family members and passed down through the ages. These quilts became historical documents to life in the pioneer days as women used the fabric to express themselves. This intangible cultural heritage evolved into a beautiful art form celebrated at the National Quilt Museum located in Paducah, and by the quilters who travel annually to Paducah for the American Quilter Society Quilt Week. Quilting opened the doors for Paducah to join the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. Sustainability is most important and is a way of life for the businesses, government, and nonprofit NGOs in Paducah. Sustainable development is led by these organizations and supported by Paducah Creative Cities, with advocacy, education, and promotion to statewide and national leaders sharing the importance of sustaining these assets. I believe sustaining development goal number 17, Partnership for the Goals, is an important goal. While Paducah Creative City programs focus on art, culture, and creativity, the organization is an important voice to support sustainability projects by becoming an advocate for the partners who have included sustainability development in their own business plans. This role takes on many functions. I'd like to use the past 7 days as examples as how the staff of the Paducah Creative City is supporting the sustainability goals. Yesterday, I spoke about the UNESCO Creative Cities and Sustainable Development Goals to a lifelong learning class at the college. Then I did the same with the Leadership Paducah class of young professionals, and also served on a committee to review applications for Youth Lead, a program for high school students to learn more about their community. 2 staff members are part of a weekly mentorship program with students through the school system. The team at Creative Paducah attended a forum with the candidates for Kentucky governor where priorities were addressed for arts and culture, but also discussed were projects concerning river, education, health, and economic development. Our voices are heard supporting these projects. The team worked with a sporting dog event at the West Kentucky Wildlife Management Area. This is the 78th Annual International Hunting Retriever Championships that filled Paducah's hotels and restaurants. But this is more than a sport. The club awarded 235 scholarships last year and 22 research grants for a total contribution of nearly $400,000. Paducah partners were in the state capitol last week when the Iser Art Center received the Kentucky Governor's Award for the Arts. The Iser Art Center hosts international competitions, a photography contest, and a fibers contest. Their current exhibit, Creative Cities Collaboration, supports Paducah's 10th anniversary as a UNESCO Creative City. The director of the Iser Art Center has taken groups of musicians, artists, and business people to the Jinju Biennale, the Menissus Ceramic Festival, and a visit to Fabriano. I attended a business advocacy committee where we worked with the Paducah Power Company on a plan for electric vehicle charging stations. Paducah Creative City is a partner in the Americans for the Arts, Arts and Economic Prosperity, a year-long program that's the only survey of its type in the U.S. to collect data from nonprofit arts and cultural organizations to gauge economic impact. The results were last week. This is the type of information UNESCO would like from UCCN members. Diversity, equity, inclusion is part of a strategic plan for the City of Paducah and this office. We hope for accreditation through Travel Unity next year. The Allied Health Program at West Kentucky Community and Technical College is essential to providing nurses to the two major hospitals. Recruiting medical professionals has become very competitive. I attended an event marketing growth and forward movement at the Allied Health Building. We hosted an international media person last week. A magazine writer from Sweden was taken to the Hotel Metropolitan, a pre-desegregation hotel restored to tell the story of an African-American hotel that hosted Black musicians, travelers, professional sporting teams who were not welcome in other hotels and restaurants many years ago. Today, my team is filming Creative Conversations, a 30-minute show on public access television. The show is filmed once a month and scheduled 3 times a week. Creative Conversations is used as a voice for Paducah's Creative City program and tourism. We met with a marketing firm to discuss how to promote the city in a changing world. We discussed what visitors are looking for in a community. The new generation of travelers want to know that they were visiting a city that is recycling, using sustainable energy and responsible products. They want farm-to-table restaurants. Communicating and educating restaurants and lodging partners is part of our responsibility. These are all actions that assist in reaching the sustainability goals. Paducah Creative City works through Paducah Convention and Visitors Bureau, the destination marketing organization that promotes the cultural assets of the city. Our grassroots efforts with stakeholders and partners are key to the success of the city. We help sustain the culture and the identity of the people, an important part of the city's quality of life. Thank you.
Bene, abbiamo concluso.
Okay, so Barbara, please take the floors. I would like to thank you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to be here together and to study and to listen to these projects. We hope that Biella Forum will continue on this direction with this kind of initiatives, vision and scenarios, making available to everybody all these materials to widespread and convey these messages to the whole network. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you, because today it has been also interesting to listening to Como. I'm pleased because I have visited the city of Pesaro, and please, I invite you to visit the city, also the beauty, the memory of Carrara through the fountains. So thank you very much for being here. I think that we are protagonists of this network. Biella worked a lot on clean air, so the common point and the common goal is implementing some actions, taking on our responsibility that we are sharing today, but not just today. Thank you for sharing your projects and your expertise. Thank you very much. So I would like to give the floor to Mr. Andrea Rolando from Politecnico in Milan to end up with this forum, and he will present us and introduce us some study between water, nature, and artificial element of UNESCO landscapes.
Grazie all'assessore Barbara Greggio, grazie a tutti voi.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you all. My speech is going to be very synthetical. I am going to try to put together some topics that were already mentioned this morning, so I think this could be useful to reason on, in general terms, on the value of water in the Italian landscape. And I have customized this more precisely on the territory where we are now. Can we just start with the slide presentation? Oh, I will. So this is my first slide, and the project in general concerns an activity that we have been doing with the Piedmont Regional Council, and it is some sort of ring between UNESCO sites in Piedmont. It is a cycling tourism in Piedmont between some heritage sites, such as the town of Ivrea. Others are sites that have an acknowledgement for their natural value, such as the biosphere and the parks. These are reserves that are acknowledged by UNESCO due to the special relation between man and nature. Then we also have the Savoy residences and other sites. So we thought that we could suggest a responsible tourism model that could allow people to reach these places with public transport, train or bike. Bike also allows us to go to minor places on the territory. So this ring is made of 4 rings. One starts in Avigliana and goes up to Oropa. The second one from Oropa goes through Biella and reaches Monferrato. And the third one from Casale Monferrato reaches Racconigi. And the last one goes back to Avigliana. So in this scheme, you can see the network of the rivers that are really the main network of our region. But the same can be applied to other regions in Italy. As you can see, the Savoy residences that are assets of the UNESCO heritage are really upon the rivers. Just think of Turin with the Moncalieri Castle on the Po River. The very same center of the town is next to the river, but also Racconigi is on the river Maira, as Stupinigi is on the Sangone River. The Castle of Rivoli is on the Dora, and Venaria is on the Stura, very close to the Stura River. So rivers really are the main structure of this landscape. And these 4 rings cover approximately 600 kilometers. And as I told you, they can be run in a single day. If you want to start from Milan or Turin by train, you can reach one of the many stations that are along the journey. This project was done by the Politecnico of Milan with the help of Visit Piedmont, and you can find a lot of information on this website. Yet the idea is a territorial project. I'm an urban planner. I am not a tourist expert, but I make use of the bike to enter the territories. And this is a territorial project that tries to promote a responsible approach to tourism. So this was meant as a ring between UNESCO sites. So UNESCO sites are an anchorage to these journeys, but what we are interested in is the marginal territory in between, the space in between these sites. So we have made the same model in several parts of Italy, between Apulia and Basilicata, between the Adriatic and Tyrrhenian Sea, from Ravenna to Cerveteri. In Sicily, lately we have been doing this in the Madonia area, and in Piedmont we are working and we want to do something similar in Lombardy. So the model can be duplicated. This is the approach that we want to carry out. Going back to water, let me just quote the path between Apulia and Basilicata. There we are using as a backbone the water system that actually brings water to all the landscape in Puglia. And this is always underground. And on the surface, there can be a bike track that is also used for maintenance. But now it is also promoted as a cycle tourism journey. And it goes close to Castel del Monte, which is another UNESCO site. So we have done this experience, joining UNESCO sites, the infrastructure that was there, and hypothesis for connection. So you can also reach Foggia by train. You can go through the forests of Umbria from Monte Sant'Angelo and then go down to the plain, and then you go up to San Sereno della Battaglia, and then to Spinazzola, and you can make use of the water system up to Alberobello. In a different context, water is also one of the crucial elements. And we have this beautiful picture of Giulio Ciambellotti that shows the Apulia water system in Bari, as if this water system was a tree. So the water system spreads among the olive plants water, and it is an extraordinary work that is really interesting from an engineering point of view. Here we have the Piedmont Ring that touches all these places, but you certainly know them all. Just a couple of words on the concept of what we are doing. So we want to put the marginal space at the center, the space in between that is not empty, it is full of meaning. So when we are not in a UNESCO site, the space is not empty. This is actually a space where we can have a think. We can stop and think and be astonished by the places and give values to these spaces in between. Bike tourism has the advantage that we can actually incorporate the landscape, and we can absorb the values of the places we go through. And we can activate a process of located knowledge. So this is a value, the one that we are fostering, that can promote a proximity tourism, active tourism, but a tourism of knowledge. We are convinced that by knowing the heritage of our landscape, then we can value it and valorize it. This is why we think that the territorial project is a very powerful one. And it is very good for students from schools. It can make the inhabitants more aware of all their landscape, of everything they have. And they can also discover the hidden folds of it, to understand how it works. And to do that, intelligence, that means reading inside things to fully understand them. The goal of what I am presenting today is understanding what role can water have in this society. So I have cut the Piedmont Ring to compare it with water resources, and I was surprised myself to seeing how many places are linked to water. I will go through them quickly. But this is the ring, and all the pink squares are the railway stations. But it can also be reached from the airport of Caselle or Malpensa. So we have dedicated tracks so that each city having a railway station, also if not inside the ring, but also Novara, Alessandria and Verbania are connected to the UNESCO Central Ring with dedicated tracks. Then we have a list of topics that make you understand that the UNESCO topic is actually linked to other cross-cut aspects. Historical architecture, but also engineering works are very important. Literary landscapes, Sebastiano Vassalli, Beppe Fenoglio, or Arpino, or maybe local writers made the landscape richer. the culture and history of the agricultural landscape, of the industrial landscape, which is crucial in Biella. There are factories, families, stories that are very important and that accumulate in the landscape and make it particularly rich. Then we have the topic of contemporary art. In Biella, we have very interesting initiatives. We have some in Turin, in Alba, in Novara, Casal Beltrame. Many places that with these cross-cut aspects might really be a chance for theme activities. And we also have seasonal landscapes. This place does not only live in winter or in summer, but we have peculiarities of the landscapes in several seasons, like we have the beautiful leaves in autumn. We have the Burcina Park that is with its spring flowers. We have the paddy fields and we have some beautiful flowers in the area of Cuneo. Some places are very small, but even the narcissus in the plain of Curco, things that happen at different times of the year, and we can make an aware use of them. And now we will see some pictures just to make my speech less boring and to relate these topics to places. You must all know them. These are places of the province of Biella, but the bike track that we suggest actually touches them all. This is the Po River in Turin, but also Tanaro in Pollenzo, the Dora Riparia in Avigliana. All these places are linked to the presence of the river as nature, but also as a resource that promoted industrial development. And in Biella, this is very clear. And bike tracks allow us to go to many of these places in a single day. So the bike is not really a sport means, but a technical instrument to reach these places. We have lakes, and we mentioned them during these days. These are natural resources, but they are also extremely important for supply. This image is also a little bit worrying. It is the basin of Piane in Macerano, and you can see how low the level is. The picture is still charming, but we must really think about it, about how low the level is due to drought. And this is a journey that is also a lesson to be learned. Every image teaches us something about nature, about the care that we must dedicate to it. And in this case, these are also basins that are an occasion to redesign the landscape. I'm an engineer and I'm very keen on planning skills and the ability of men to create places that are better than what they found. So we can be critical concerning the creation of snow-making basins, but they must be managed in view of quality. This is the message that I would like to share with you. Any work can be made if the landscape quality is high. This is something we must always bear in mind, and this is not always true. This is the Po River in Saluzzo, an iconic place. This was one of the test events for the bike circle in Po. Not a single drop of water. You can cross it by bike, and on the bank of the river, water is extracted by tractors with pumps that feed the corn fields. I am not being judgmental because I am convinced that all resources must be used, but this is what happens, and we must be aware of it, and we must understand what the impact of this is. The stream is dry, then we have beautiful places. From a landscape point of view, this resource is beautiful. And here we are in Racconigi. We have a beautiful network of streams and channels. And also in Varallo there are beautiful suspension bridges in between Vercelli and Romagnano, Ivrea, is also a very special sport resource, and canals are really one of the most interesting things that we can find along the path. This is the canal of Caluso. From Castellamonte it goes up to Caluso and Chivasso, and it goes beneath the Olivetti factory, where the famous Lettera 22 was made. So this is outdoor tourism, but also cultural tourism. This is a place that we might not see so close, again, because this is on the motorway that connects the Verduno Hospital with the last track of the Cuneo motorway. There is a bike track there, and we hope it can still be there in some time. It's being discussed, but there will be a motorway there. So it is an important opportunity to join nature and artifacts, bike tracks and motorways. Of course, you know the Cavour Canal. That is a work that should be in all history books and in all tourist tracks, not only in Italy but in Europe. And we have beautiful canals, and they are very good. Their banks are always very good for transport. But we also have beautiful bridges. This is in Borgo Sesia, but we also have suspension bridges that are very beautiful in Valsesia. Or the remains of Roman archaeology. This is the famous one in Romagnano, or the one that was used for the train in Europa, but also the one on the Po River, the Zorzi Bridge, one of the most impressive works after World War II. But we see as something incidental, but this can also be interesting from a touristic point of view. It is a very beautiful sight to be seen, and it marks the landscape, although it has been criticized for that. And this picture clearly shows the compatibility of art, historical work, such as the siphon of the Cavour Canal on the River Sesia with the high-speed train. And so all these works must be compatible. They must find some intersection areas, and the quality of this project ensures that. Nowadays, nobody is criticizing the Cavour Canal because it was done with a beautiful mastery of bricks and stones. But maybe in 2,000 years we will see the same in motorways and in high-speed train tracks. But we must pay that attention to the future. Energy is another topic, and this is a dam on the Caluso Canal that is not only used to bring water to Caluso, but also for producing hydropower. This is Gagliano, one of the most beautiful places in the province of Biella, that also deserves a visit. Or the famous plants in Portalupi in Valdossola. And there was also an advertising spot at the beginning of the center where they said, when you actually turn the light on in Milan, a central plant in Valdossola is activated. Then we speak of beauty and we go back to Racconigi. All these pink spaces, pink areas are silk mills, and also the monumental garden of the castle is fed by all this water. So there was a production, a manufacturing of assets and the production of beauty at the same time, thanks to water. And this was also a place of experimentation for agriculture. So new agricultural innovative techniques were experimented. So it is also a place for science and not only for beauty. Or the Villa del Lago at the Mandria in Venaria. And here again, water is some sort of lamination basin, a place for balance concerning the water system of the region. Not only beautiful places, but also a production place. Here we went around with the UNESCO Italian Commission They accompanied us to this place, and we could also prove the feasibility of this project. And now we are developing a new one. Lucedio, you must certainly know it, between paddy fields. And we have another production site close to Biella, that is the Bessa, a very peculiar landscape that can be crossed on foot, by bike, by horse, and it is a very unique place. And water was used for that production. All the small streams were governed to ensure the washing of these cobblestones, to be able to find gold. Water and innovation, one last chapter, and then I leave you. Just to keep into account what happened in the flood that devastated the area of Biella and that changed the industrial structure of the territory. So we must learn from history and know that these places learned their lessons and took a new way. So innovation, the innovation that we can see in some places of the former industrial production are now reinventing themselves, and they are very important. Innovation can be seen through history, as in the case of foundations. This is the Sella Foundation and Sella Lab, but also the wheel factory or the Pico wall mill that is the same that you have seen in the previous picture close to that valley where the flooding happened. Then the Pistoletto Foundation, all places that open up to the future. And contemporary art is also an interesting journey. So we have designed these journeys in Biella based on the textile industry, but also on wine. You can see all that area is one of the elements for a new future for the province of Biella. And this is my last slide, reminding you that this ring also relates with this great UNESCO reserves that are the MABs. Monviso, Ticino, up to Grignasco, and the Po Valley. And we also have the landscapes of the Langhe, Monferrato, and in yellow we have all the UNESCO assets. What can we do to close this speech? The relationship with the outer world. Biella should not be closed in itself. It must root its territory in a context. Try and develop communication modes, not only the slow ones, but there are some important ideas. From Biella to Malpensa, you can go by bike. It is a very beautiful track along the canals, Naviglio Grande and Villoresi, and this is Prai, and they already have bike tracks. So we reach the Ticino River. This is another masterpiece of industrial archaeology, and so we reach Malpensa, where we are very close to the Pan Perduto, and we touch very beautiful places that are not so well known by tourists. Okay, it is somewhat difficult to reach the airport by bike. It is not exactly bike-friendly, but you can reach it. So what have we learned? That we must not only be able to do, and Biella, the people from Biella know how to do things, but we must also make people know about it. So we have to communicate this knowledge of the landscape and the territory and transform this into an element of production and novelty for the future. And art is also very important. It is not just crafts and industrial production, but real modern art incorporating an innovation process. This also belongs to the DNA of the people from Biella. We have important artists on this territory, and this created a structure that is very important. So this knowledge tourism must be passed on to the new generations. Every week we should take our students to one of these places, and in 20 years this generation will be more aware of water at least. We can do that. promoting relations outside Biella. Contemporary art is not just here, it is not just in Alba or Turin, it can live out of relations between regions and provinces. So we must carry on these relations between Turin, Biella and Alba. We learned with rivers that water has no borders. Rivers are a flow, and this flow opens communication ways that convey energy and thought. So the real digitalization must be learned from water. Water that breaks the banks and dams and fills spaces that were not foreseen. This lesson seems very important to me. This is the real digitalization, communication. Real communication, I mean transport, trains, motorways, what is really necessary, and we already have very good trains here. Mobility, but especially relations. And this is what is difficult, to open up to other territories. This is something that we should work on. So we study a lot, we have a lot of knowledge available, but sometimes this knowledge is not spread. Maybe not even accepted. It is rejected. So this idea of non-compatibility between training centers and the territory is something that should be developed. And we only have a few. Manzoni said he was speaking to 25 readers. Well, maybe we have less, and we should reflect upon that. We should reflect upon the quality and the need to exploit these days. I have presented this class, this lecture for a very long time, and I would like you to develop it further, to develop it with the people who live the territory. So between the valley of Dora and Sesia, there are important relations, but Ivrea is not Biella, so we must speak with Borgo Sesia, we must speak to other cities. We have Marco Belli in the audience. We had a very beautiful relation project with him to connect these two valleys. And the project is struggling to become operational. We have to take that step, move from knowledge and analysis to an operational stage. We do have the resources, mental and physical resources, both in Dora and Sesia. We also have the Nature and Innovation Park along the Cervo River. Along the river Cervo and Sesia, going down to Quinto Vercellese, to many places in the plain. This is a river park that is the only one in the world. There's no other park of that size and that value, and we can really face that area. And that would consolidate these relations. And the last point is the UNESCO map. We can make use of the UNESCO network, intangible network that breaks the borders, that make Biella speak to Fabriano and others. We can make use of that principle in a concrete way. The map are very wide areas where men and the biosphere, so nature and the artificial activities meet, which is possible. We must not give up, although we deal with very important topics such as nature, water, the crucial elements that were mentioned today. And with this, I thank you. I was nearly on time, and so I wish you very good proceedings, and I hope that we can meet soon, maybe in Biella again.
Grazie al professor Rolando.
Thank you, Professor Rolando. Since you described Piedmont worldwide, unfortunately, our assessors, Vittoria Poggio, cannot be here for being sick, but we have a little video from her. And then I would like to remind you that we are on direct in streaming on English and Italian channel, and probably as we are live, of course, so in the next 15 days, the whole creative cities worldwide will have the possibility to connect on a YouTube channel of Biella City and share the material with us. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for not being here with you, but I would like to greet you all during the Forum of Creative Cities dedicated to climate crisis and change. This is a urgent topic in all governmental agenda, reflecting our lives, of course, and affecting our lives as far as production pipelines of medium and small enterprises are concerned, since they have to change their plans to reduce pollution and so on. The topic of water and the protection of water as well became the core of the reflection, since recently we started dealing with drought that really affected negatively our lives. Facing this problem as an emergency to save crops, harvest, and products that we are consuming and selling to national and international markets. We are facing the need to build new strategies and methods to protect not just our health, but also the quality of our products. Concerning tourism, production sectors, which represent our culture, our identity. Virtuous examples in this sense can be provided by the Alpine Convention that Biella signed, and we hope that it can lead to reaching the goal of sustainable development goal in a daily life, free from ideologies, but supported by sustainable concrete projects. I would like to thank you all for organizing this UNESCO Creative Cities Forum. I hope that this can represent just a starting point to achieve our goal. That is achieving a new perspective in harmony with the protection of water, protection of our lands, the air, and our natural territories. So that a really good job to everybody. Thank you very much. After the message by Vittorio Poggio, I hope that you can come back home with a little more of culture about the themes and the topics that we have faced and dealt with in your daily habits and attitude. Having said that, I would like to greet you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all Creative Cities. Thank you to Vittorio Salmoni. Thank you to the speakers, the sponsors, and I would like also to greet the Creative Cities in connected worldwide, and I would like to share our video to allow you knowing better our city. Thank you very much, and good luck to everybody.